You've got to put in the work. You've got to be willing to do hard things. You have to be willing to do what others wouldn't do.
Yeah, you have to be willing to put an iPad in front of your kids, work every single weekend, not see movies for 7 years. I don't know. This list sucks, I'll be honest. Hello, Barbies, Kens, theys, and thems. Welcome to Nicole Reacts, a show in which I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus that I find, that other people help me find, and occasionally who find me on the internet. My qualifications for marketing snark and commentary: that I've owned a marketing company for 17 years in January. And what that means is I've had a lot of experience working with many different kinds of clients on marketing strategy and implementation. So I thought I would try the get ready with me format. So this is what my face looks like with just sunscreen on it. Because honestly, I actually watched the video we're going to watch today. I started watching it. I got about 15 minutes in and the recording just wasn't very good. So this is my second attempt. Now, I'm not great at makeup, so I have a feeling that I'll probably done my makeup routine in probably the first 10 minutes of the video, but at least I'll be able to get through that. And I'll be ready for filming other things maybe later today. So today's video, I'm actually not sure how I found this. I have a feeling that I was looking around YouTube for social media trainings and I came across this direct selling news channel. Today's video from that channel was uploaded 8 months ago, and it's called Social Media Strategies That Helped Ellen Ludwig Gain 100,000 Plus Followers. What I'm expecting from this is actual strategies about how to grow a social media account besides post content consistently and be your authentic self. Like, I'm looking for actual tactics for how she grew her account. I haven't seen it in this first part that I've watched so far, but who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. To warn you, this video that we're watching is 57 minutes. If you've got stuff to do, buckle up. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of visuals in this presentation so far, but I will alert you auditorily if that changes as the video progresses. As of today, this video has 138 views and 1 like. Ouch. But let's see, maybe there'll be 2 likes at the end of this video. I don't know, but let's see.
I knew that I had the passion to be successful, so I was willing to do whatever that meant. You've got to put in the work. You've got to be willing to do hard things.
So I'm guessing that these are clips kind of from the future of this podcast or video cast that we're going to watch. I love it when they say, like, you'll have to do things that nobody will do. It makes me think, like, what weird things is she expecting me to do?
Have to be willing to do what others wouldn't do.
Welcome to Direct Selling Shift, an exclusive podcast by DSN.
So the way that the logo looks as we're going in, the Direct Selling Shift, every time, I think it's the fact that the F and the T are really close together. I keep thinking in my mind, it's direct selling. Yeah, anyway.
Host Blake Mallon, and this is where direct selling high performers and experts share their most powerful shifts in mindset, skill set, and strategy to help you accelerate your business and amplify your impact. I challenge you to be present, open your mind, and let the shift begin. Welcome back to Direct Selling.
Let the shift begin.
Selling Shift. Our guest today is an absolute powerhouse in the direct selling and affiliate space.
Oh yeah, I remember what I don't like about this logo now. I know I just told you like 1 minute ago that you don't have to watch this, but if you want to just be catty about design, feel free to just take a look at your screen right now. So when you upload a podcast, you have to pick a thumbnail. And what's hilarious with iTunes, and this was at least a few years ago that I had my podcast, is they make you upload this square thumbnail in this ridiculous size. It's like 1800 by 1800 pixels. Like, I'm like, where is this appearing that it's going to be that big? But anyway, you upload it and it's going to be a square. Now, if we look at his icon for his show, you see how the S has some space to the left side of it, but the T is like getting cut off. I move it over a little bit, but okay, I will let that bother you as much as it bothers me while we listen to the show.
After spending 8 years as a sales director for a major market research firm, she made the courageous decision to stay at home and raise her kids for 5 years before beginning.
I thought they were gonna say she made the courageous decision to quit her multi-level marketing company. Clearly, I watched the first 10 minutes, but I don't remember much of
In
it.
her entrepreneurial path in 2014. Fast forward, now nearly a decade of experience in direct selling. That has allowed her, get this, to more than 10x her income from what she was earning in her traditional corporate role. That is insane. She absolutely loves people, is a great listener, has a very unique ability to meet people where they are and show up consistently for them to help them get to where they want to go. Faith, family, and impact are the core of her why, and authenticity is her superpower. You're going to feel that in today's conversation. What you see is what you get. She's an open book and absolutely lives and breathes the lifestyle that she inspires and teaches. And when it comes to business,
I love how long this intro is.
she is all about consistency, resilience, and is on a mission to create an amazing life for her family, travel the world with her husband, and make a massive positive impact, helping people live longer, healthier lives. Today's conversation is going to be super inspiring and help you make the shift. Please help me welcome to the show, Ellen Ludwig. Ellen, how are you doing today?
Oh my goodness. Thank you for, I don't think anybody's ever introduced me so well. That was so awesome. Thank you, Blake. Doing awesome.
I am
happy
a
to be
super
here.
fan. I appreciate it. I think you're tuning in from, is it Indiana today?
Yeah, from Indiana. Weather outside is rainy, but we're hopeful spring is coming.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you for taking time away from your family, away from your community. I'm a fan of your company, your founder, and you have had a chance to learn a lot from some of your content.
Oh, I remember this now. So he's a fan of the founder of the company and of the company she's in. I want you to try as we're watching to guess what company she's in. Okay. And then I also want you to pick a timestamp of where you think they will say the name of the company she's in. It has to be after the 10-minute mark because they don't mention the first 10 minutes. So, okay, the whole thing is 50, almost 57 minutes. So pick a timestamp where the company will be mentioned and we'll see who's right.
And excited to extract some of those highlights for all our listeners today. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, well, excited to be here and chat with you. It's like this industry is just so exciting. There's so much opportunity. So really excited to share, what I've learned and shifted, with all of your listeners.
Well, I appreciate it. So I'm interested. Why don't we kind of start with just kind of parts of your story? I know now, almost a decade in the space, but prior to that, tell us about kind of those two moments. Maybe the moment when you made the decision to exit kind of the traditional path and stay at home as a mom, because that's a big decision in life. So I'm curious where you were in that moment. And then 5 years after that, what was the moment that made you leap into this crazy world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this story. So I was in corporate America market research for 8 years. Yeah, I wanted to stay home and have my daughter. I knew that I always wanted to be home, but when I was young, my life goal was to be a CEO of a company.
Okay, that's a little contradictory. Within 10 seconds, she says both, I always knew I was going to stay home with my kids, or I want to stay home with my kids. And from when I was younger, my goal was to be the CEO of a company. Now, listen, I'm not here to tell you that you can't be a parent and also be head of a company at all. But the way she said I was going to stay home with my kids implies that she is not going to be in the workforce. So already we're getting contradictory stuff. Pro tip, I heard that if you warm up your mascara, like if you hold it in your hand or you can put it in a warm cup of water or something, it goes on better. So in case you're wondering why I'm like having a fistful of mascara, apparently this helps. And it does. It just kind of makes the product a little more melty.
Always knew like I wanted to be at the top. I wanted to be super successful. And, I worked my way for 8 years as much as you can work, your way up, for 8 years. It definitely wasn't, I was, somewhat successful, definitely not anywhere near the top at, the age that I was in my upper 20s. So I decided to stay home. I've always been.
Who is at the top level of their company when they're in their 20s? I mean, really, like if you're doing the corporate thing, name one person that you know in your corporate job who is at the top of their career game in their mid 20s or even their late 20s, right? Also, is she the CEO of the company she's in? Because the guy hosting the podcast really looks up to the founder. So it doesn't sound like she's the founder, but I'm guessing she's also not the CEO either.
Been into health and fitness. And the funny thing, I was like, well, like maybe I'll be a personal trainer. And I was like, well, why would I be a personal trainer? Because then I'm going to have to go train clients in the early, I'm going to have to get away from my family. I'm going to have to train clients early in the morning or like at dinner time. So that wasn't going to work. So
But if it's your own company, wouldn't you be able to decide that you wanted to train clients who were busy at those times as well? So maybe you would only run your training in the middle of the day, or you would do your training at a gym that had some kind of daycare associated with it so that you could be working with moms. You don't have to train people at times that don't work for you. If the idea is that you have your own business and that you have some constraints on your time, maybe some of your customers have similar time constraints and you could figure out times that work for both you and them. Why just throw it out without really even thinking through it?
had this idea that I wanted to do virtual fitness classes
Great idea.
for my friends because at the time I was working out in my bedroom in a 2-bedroom condo in Chicago, and I was writing my own fitness classes and I was sharing them with my friends. I was also meanwhile sharing like the shake that I was drinking and the healthy food that I was eating and all the recipes. And I remember having a conversation with my personal
Okay, so virtual training and influencing, that sounds like you were ahead of your time. You could definitely make a living or at least a part-time living doing that now.
trainer at the time, like, how can I do this virtual fitness business? Well, this was in 2009. Zoom wasn't even a thing. I literally just like entered.
Listen, I've been running a company since 2008. So I remember those kind of early years. So she's talking about 2009, which is the year after I started my company. And there was Skype, there was GoToMeeting. There was some tools prior to Zoom that existed. Granted, they weren't as easy to use or as flexible or whatever, but I think there would have been a way for her to do this because at the time people were doing this. Like YouTube was created, invented, uploaded what in like 2006, 2007. Maybe it was in 2007. I remember thinking my dad died in 2007. I remember thinking, oh, he died before he got to like see YouTube. He would have appreciated YouTube. But anyway, there was clearly the ability to make video and to distribute video before that time. Like I said, is it as easy as it is now? No. Could she have done it though? Absolutely.
The like Facebook world. I mean, I was doing nothing virtual at all. So literally that was a thought that came and went. And then fast forward, let's see, about
I forgot. She's like, "Oh, I wasn't doing it." Yeah, like if you're not doing something, and I didn't go further than that. Okay, well, when you don't do something, you can figure out how to do it, right? Like, listen, like my little recording setup here is not ideal. I'm still doing it. Like I'm still making this happen, even if it's not like the perfect scenario.
5 years later, after that, I was, on social media, of course, on social media, watching some people. And I saw what they were doing, and they were in the health and fitness space and they were sharing it with others. I was like, huh, you mean I can share my passion for health and fitness with others at home, not have to leave my house, and I can do it on my own time. And I was like, sign.
Yeah, and granted, 2009 was kind of early days of social media. I remember when I quit my job in 2008 and said I was going to help people with Facebook. Literally, one colleague said, "Wow, good luck with that." At the same time, it's not like, there was online forums, there was blogs. Like I said, YouTube existed. It wasn't really considered a social media site. It was more considered like a video upload service, but still, I think I messed up my eye, but I'll figure out that as we go.
Yeah, like that is exactly what I wanted to be doing. So I very quickly learned about that opportunity and quickly dove in. I mean, I had no social media experience. I always say I was that like silent, like stalker. I didn't even like barely post pictures of my kids, but I knew I was like, wow, like all I have to do is show up on this platform at the time was Facebook, and I can work with others around, at that time it was really just around the United States, and be able to live out this passion. And it's really, that was the beginning of it.
I love it. So there's a word I heard you say a few times there I want to come back to, but first a question. So you always wanted to be a CEO?
Yeah.
When did you have that goal for yourself? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So when I was young, so I saw my dad was in business. He was,
okay.
And so he was successful in business. He was not a CEO, but he was definitely like up there. Mm-hmm. And I saw him, being super successful. And I was like, I want to be successful, and I want to make a lot of money. And I was young. I mean, it was definitely when I was middle school, high school. And I just knew like that I could see myself doing that. And I also,
my dad made a ton of money, but he wasn't the CEO.
Knew I wanted a family. I wanted to be there for my family, but I knew that there was going to be more. I just knew there was going to be more for me than.
Yeah. I feel like most mothers, they want to be mothers, but they also want to do other things, like, because they're people. They have their own like goals and dreams in addition to motherhood. I feel like this is not unusual, but
just then to be a stay-at-home mom.
I love that. I mean, big aspirations at a young age. I don't think I've met many people that.
To be clear, there's nothing wrong if you want to be a stay-at-home mom. What I'm saying is, even if you are a stay-at-home mom, you probably are going to develop like interests. Maybe you're going to volunteer. You're going to do things that you find personally fulfilling. I think that that's really normal.
At that young, they're like, no, I want to be a CEO, unless they came from obviously a family of maybe CEOs. So I love that. I think that's inspiring. So always wanted to kind of achieve, saw a lifestyle for yourself. But then the word I heard you say quite a few times there was the word passion. And I think you said
Did she say the word passion even once? Editing Nicole is going to check this, but I feel like the word passion did not stand out for me at all in that whole answer for his question.
Hey guys, Editing Nicole, I was wrong. She did say it 3 times. I feel like other ideas besides passion were more talked about, but she did say it 3 times, so I was wrong. I can admit that.
How old were you when you first realized you have a passion for kind of the health and fitness space?
Yeah. Okay. I was young. So I remember that when I was 12 years old, I was young. Okay. And there was a specific story. Like I was in middle school. I lived in this small town. Our middle school was here. Our high school was there. We were able to like view the track. There was a girl that was running track in high school. She looked amazing. She had amazing legs. She had some amazing body. And I was like, oh, I'm going to look like her. And if I'm
cool. So clearly we both grew up in a similar town, because my middle school was also next to the high school. And you were like, wow, I want to be hot and have a great body. So I'm going to be interested in this.
I'm going to look like her. I'm going to need to run. So I'm going to need to start exercising and not just playing sports. So I dabbled in a lot of different sports when I was in middle school and high school, but I went to the gym. So I went to our local gym. I took classes. I did the Stairmaster all the time, right? All the things. And I quickly realized that there was a reward for exercising. And that reward, not only it was the way it made you feel, but it was, the way it made you look, all of those things. And I was like, wow. And at that time, I can't really remember a time in my life where exercise has never been, it's always been a big part of my life since I was.
2 things. Number 1, this is as good as I'm going to look. The get ready with me portion of this video is concluded officially. I don't even know what else I would do if I was going to do more. So I would need professional help to look better than this. But my second thing is that there's a benefit I think that you get from playing a sport that you don't necessarily get from, say, going to a Zumba class at your local gym. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying that there is a sort of aspect to being on a team, whether that's a high school or college team or even like an adult team, and competing with other teams. That is a little bit different, and to be completely honest with you, I miss as an adult. I don't have any activity right now where I'm able to compete with anybody, although I see that a local gym is having a lifting competition, and I might go for that actually. But, I've done 5Ks and stuff like that as an adult, and I find that it feeds a certain part of my personality that I guess just, going for a walk or, you know, going to the gym doesn't quite get at. And I wish she would mention that because it is really fun. And if you think that the whole competitive thing is only about sports, if you were maybe in your high school's chorus or your high school's drama club or whatever, when you would go and meet other drama clubs and you would compete in a drama competition, it's that similar feeling of, trying to be at the top of your game and seeing other people at the top of their game and feeling like a little bit competitive about it that I think also is kind of a benefit with taking part in sports when you're in high school or otherwise. So, anyway, let's get back to it. I know I'm going to do the rest of this video, but at least I got through the part that I have already watched.
It's interesting. So 12 years old, you realized you really had a passion. And even when you're talking to all of us and those of you that are watching on YouTube and you can see Ellen, like you light up when you're talking about like health and wellness. And that's not everybody. I mean, for a lot of people, you mentioned the word exercise or working out, like they wouldn't put it in the passion zone, right? Maybe it's more like this is like pain, this is work. But for you, it's a real passion. Here's my question. I'm more curious. So you made a leap as an entrepreneur, doing something you were really passionate about. You said in your story, it's because, wow, I can do something I love and get paid for it. How important do you think that is for everybody as they take their own entrepreneurial journey, like in a direct selling business, like actually being
an entrepreneurial journey in the direct selling business? I mean, if you're going to do anything, whether it's sell a product on behalf of a large multinational company or whether it's starting your own business, I think you have to have some kind of passion to carry you through continuing to do it because it's not always going to be easy to do, but we'll see how she answers it.
genuinely, authentically passionate about
Related to nothing, I really like her pink blazer.
what they're bringing to the world. Do you think it has to be? Do you see that with everybody? Like, I'm curious your perspective.
I think that's a really good question because clearly, yes, like I am
I think it's a really good question because the answer is really obvious.
super passionate about my, let's just say it, like like what I offer, right? My offering. But there's a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities, like, I don't know, selling clothes or selling bags or, some other product that you may not at the beginning, you may not be like, I'm like, let's just say I'm like selling cups, right? Let's just say, okay, I'm selling cups. I may not be passionate about this cup, but if I'm selling this cup and I've been able to, be successful.
I'm trying to read the logo on the cup. I promise.
Selling this cup, and I'm seeing that selling this cup is actually having a major impact on my family. And I'm seeing that, wow, this cup actually has really changed my life because it's changed, the opportunity that I now have for my family. I'm super passionate about cups, right?
Yeah.
If it makes me a ton of money, I could become super passionate about it. There, I just summarized what she said.
So it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the product because it could be the opportunity itself. You could be very passionate about, right? So
I think you explained that perfectly.
I think you explained why sell soulless products and make a lot of money and still feel good about ourselves. Thank you.
And I've seen the same thing, right? So for my, 25 plus years, I've seen people on both sides you just described. So people that are just like genuinely, authentically fired up about the thing, right? They're bringing to other people.
Right.
Or people that get really passionate that they found a vehicle that can allow them to get to a place to unlock things they are passionate about. Like in your.
You don't think that energetically, for lack of a better word, there's a difference, and let's just use my industry, between a person who's passionate about marketing and helping small businesses and somebody who's passionate about making money off of small business owners. You don't think that that would feel different in terms of, how somebody would feel working with me, whether I was passionate about liberating them from as much money as possible versus passionate about, you know, the actual work that I do. I don't know. I feel like I'd be able to tell the
Your
difference.
story, your family, or
Yeah.
other things. But would you say that regardless of if it's the actual thing we're bringing or that's a vehicle or a means to something else, would you say that passion, it's important to find a passion in something to bring a fire as an entrepreneur, and why?
Absolutely. Because I think, I mean, passion absolutely is going to fuel your fire. Passion is what's going to get you out of bed every day, excited about what you're doing, right? If you don't have that and you lack that, I mean, it's passion and purpose. Those things go hand in hand. So if you're lacking that, then how are you going to get excited? And honestly, that's where a lot of people in corporate America, I mean, my husband is totally jealous of me because he's not passionate about his job, and he's just not. There's so many people.
I have a question for her. She's not going to answer it, obviously, because we're not talking. But what percentage of her life and her family's life, I should say, does her husband's salary pay for versus hers? Like, if she's making a ton of money, shouldn't she be able to retire her husband? But I think that there's this overemphasis on having to do work that you find deeply meaningful. I think there's nothing wrong with having a job that pays you money and pays you enough money that you have either money to donate or free time to give to other things that you might be passionate about. Like her husband, I'm sure that he always wanted to have a family, and because of his job, he's able to afford to give a nice life to his family. And maybe he's able to afford only working, 40 hours a week or something so that he can come home and spend his free time with his family. But even if you don't have a family like me, right? Maybe there are other things that if I just worked a regular job, which I've totally done and would totally do again, that in my spare time, I would do things that I found meaningful or interesting. So maybe I would be in a book club, or I'd, walk dogs at the SPCA, or, maybe if I made extra money, I would, be putting money toward causes that I really cared about and things like that. So I don't understand why, we have to all have jobs that we feel are deeply meaningful. I think we have to have parts of our lives that we feel are meaningful. And I don't feel like you necessarily have to get that from your job. I do think you have to get that from your job if you're starting your own business, because you need a lot of internal and self-motivation to keep going. And if you don't have the interest, you're not going to do it. And I don't even know if the promise of money is even enough sometimes to get people to really do it. That's my only exception. If you're going to start your own business, I think you actually have to sort of care about what you're doing. But if you just have a job and you put in an honest day's work and do the best you can, and then you have spare time and money to do things you're passionate about, I think that that's perfectly valid.
People, when I was in corporate America and I worked for market research, I mean, I'm a very positive person. So believe it or not, like I probably found passion in, market research data, but
market research is super interesting. I'd be passionate about
because
that.
it was helping other people, but not really, so.
You think I'd be passionate because I was helping other people, but not really.
It's really hard to show up with consistency every single day if you're not passionate about what you're doing.
I love the way.
I think you can also just go to a job and your motivation can just be money. But like I said, if you're starting your own business, I really think you have to have some kind of personal passion about the topic or the thing you're selling or whatever, because it's not going to carry you through the amount of time that you're going to need to do that to be successful.
The way you're explaining all that. And that's the truth, right? And especially for most people that enter a direct selling business or an affiliate business, because of the nature of how we all are brought up, we're probably coming from a traditional job, right? Where we're told to kind of clock in, clock out, what to do, what we have to do. And as an entrepreneur, like you said, you're not going to have the energy to put into what it really takes to control your own calendar unless you associate passion to something. So for all the listeners out,
okay, I hate to say this, but I kind of agree with him. if we think that direct selling is a self-employment, which I don't think it is. I think it's that you are a commission-only salesperson for a large company.
Out there, take a page from Ellen here. You got to find passion in something you're doing, whether it's the direct value you're bringing to the world or a means to what that can do for you and your family. I think that's key to bring that fire. With your current company and brand, and like I said, I'm a fan. I also know that there's
Maybe we can mention for the audience what the name of the company is and what it does.
similar to most direct selling companies in that when you kind of made the leap, they are very intentional about kind of the program, right? Like
Yep.
here is a business structure, here is a program. When you become a promoter, a consultant, distributor, coach, whatever term, you're kind of like buying into an existing program that you get to kind of take as your own. I'm curious from your perspective, like how important was that for you? Like becoming an entrepreneur and having, a company, a brand kind of give you some rails to run on, right? A program or a structure to run with versus doing something completely on your own.
Honestly, I think she would have been happier doing the thing on her own. She liked making workouts for her friends, and she wanted to do virtual classes and things. I think that I looked up what MLM she was with, and she was with Beachbody, but now I think she's on her own. I'll double check after this video, but um, they still haven't said the name of the company yet. But like in your mind, like just keep in mind that I think at this point she's with Bodi. And see, I think she would have been happier doing what she wanted to do. At the beginning, she was like, I like making workouts for my friends and I want to do fitness classes online. If she joined, say, Body, right? An existing MLM that has, on demand fitness classes, do you think that Body is going to let her, as a regular distributor, be one of the workout personalities and make her own videos and upload them to the platform and help her distribute them? Do you think Body is gonna make her get a personal training certification so that she has the ability and training to safely and effectively make workouts for people who might need to do a workout around an injury or some kind of physical limitation or something like that? I think she would have been better on her own. I think she would have been better on her own, getting a personal training certification or becoming a registered dietitian and actually making her own classes and doing her own videos because she would have been able to do them exactly how she wanted. She wouldn't have had to promote Autumn Calabrese or whoever's classes that are already on the app. So I don't know. I think she would have had a lot of more personal satisfaction in that. Just my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is so important and actually I had thought about and doing something on my own. But listen, the cost of doing something on your own is, if you do the math, is usually so much greater than having.
The cost of you getting a Skype account. Again, we're talking 2009, right? This is Zoom isn't a thing yet, apparently. You get a free Skype account to do video calls where you can, see people's form and all that. You upload your videos to YouTube, which is also free. Or let's say that you didn't want to like buy equipment and everything. You find a local gym who is looking for trainers and maybe like I said before, has, an on-site daycare or something like that. And you train clients in times where your kids are at school or at daycare or at other activities or other times in your schedule that makes sense. How does that cost a lot of money? I don't understand. You don't have to go out and buy a 10,000 square foot space and fill it with thousands of dollars of gym equipment. There's a way for her to do her dream, spending a very minimal amount of money if she wanted to start her own thing. I don't understand this whole like cost being here thing because I'm like, what are you spending the money on? Legitimately.
Having a company who literally gives it to you and then you're making a percentage, right? You're making a percentage off of whatever you're selling. And I mean if you break that down, then you quickly realize, wow, like they're doing like all the back end stuff for me. They're taking care of stuff that, that I don't want to deal with. Right. And handing it to you. And yes, I mean,
But like, let's say, for example, that you hate shipping products, like you're just not good at it. Why not hire a fulfillment company? And I like looked at a couple for a client once, and it looks like they either have flat fees, or I saw one that took like 30%. How much of a commission are you making on, selling body products, right? Maybe what, 20%? Okay, let's be super generous and let's say that you made 30% commission on all your sales. I think it's less than that, but let's pretend, right? So you can work as an affiliate for Body in my fake scenario and make 30% off commissions. I'm assuming it's less than that, but right? Or you can make your own product, pay 30% to a fulfillment company, and you keep 70%. So you either get 30% or 70%. So why not just look at the stuff you don't want to do and say, how can I find a company that can do this for me? Can I hire someone to do my bookkeeping? Because I'm not good at that. And actually cost out what it would cost you to get rid of the stuff that you don't like doing. Let's face it, if you're just starting a business and you're shipping out products, you're probably not shipping out 100 boxes a day at first. You're probably going to slowly ease into it. So most people can probably handle, even I can handle probably shipping a couple of boxes a day. But do you know what I mean? It's like they act like, oh my God, corporate does everything. And it's like, no, you're the one who's nurturing the customer relationships. You're the one that's guiding them into what products they should buy. You're the one that's following up with them. Like, that's a ton of work. They are taking Shakeology, shoving it in a box and sending it over, or they're putting the workouts on their Body app or something. Do you know what I mean? I'm assuming this is Body. But again, to remind you, we haven't heard the name of the company yet. And we are 15 minutes in.
very, very, very grateful for the business model that I'm able to do with the company I'm with.
For sure.
Grateful for the business model because you make most of your money off sales that other people make. So yeah, I enjoy business models where I guess I could profit off of the work of other people.
And that's kind of one of the benefits of what we do in this channel, right? Is you get to kind of start, with the massive head start of a model that we know works, and then add your passion and add your energy. And you've done an amazing job with all of that.
Do we know what works? We know that 99% of people lose money in network marketing. We know that the companies themselves are profitable and make millions of dollars, but the people who are making the money are people who own the company and who are in corporate. And there's maybe a few distributors at that high level. But if you look at most comp plans, most people are making a couple $100 a year, a couple $1,000 a year. Not enough to live off of, that's for sure.
In this channel, we have so many terms for what we call ourselves, like every company and brand, right? Sometimes we call ourselves independent representatives, or we're affiliates, or we're brand ambassadors.
If I wanted to, I could call myself the CEO, but I say I'm the owner, but I could be the founder. I could be the, chief idea officer. I could be whatever title I wanted. When you're in your own company, you get to use whatever title you want.
Or we're distributors, or we're promote. I mean, there's 100 names, right? And I saw on your kind of branding, like you really identify as a coach.
Yeah.
Did you identify as a coach prior to
Did you call yourself a coach by actually getting some kind of certification, or did you just identify with that word?
Your direct selling business, or did your direct selling business kind of give you that identity as a coach?
I would say my direct selling business gave me that identity.
I wouldn't call myself a coach because I know deep down that I have not taken a certification or done hours working with clients or something like that to reach that designation. So the company gave that to me. I don't necessarily feel good for her for saying that.
Definitely. Like, as I said, before I got into, 10 years ago when I was a stay-at-home mom, I was basically doing what I'm doing now, sharing workouts, sharing recipes, sharing my lifestyle with my friends, but I was not directly like coaching them. And, so then it was when I got into.
yeah, there's plenty of people like influencers, authors, content creators, whatever you want to call them, who produce content around a specific niche. You don't have to join a network marketing company to do that. You can just do that.
The business is really when I started coaching clients, supporting clients, giving them that accountability, helping them see, the greater picture that they have for themselves in their life.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that term matters? I'm just curious because,
Yeah.
like I said, people call you a bunch of different names. But the term coach, I'm more just personally curious on this one.
Yeah.
Because a coach, do you think that that word matters, or that?
Usually the word coach implies a sort of status that, whether it's you're coaching a team and that those team members are going to respect, your decisions and your ways of doing things when it comes to like the workouts or when it comes to the competitions. There's this implied hierarchy and level of respect. So I do think the word matters, but I'll be curious.
That identity
I
matters,
know.
or not really? I mean, whatever you call yourself, as long as you have an
Yeah,
association.
I know. I mean, it's because I think coach can feel like it's kind of where, coach is kind of like wearing like a lot of different hats. I think there's some coaches that are just like cheerleaders,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's some coaches that are literally like, that's all they do is cheerlead. I do not. I do a lot of teaching. So, and training. So I do a lot of teaching, training, cheerleading, supporting, and holding my clients accountable. So it's definitely multifaceted
Mm-hmm.
where, coaches aren't always teachers or trainers either. So
More confused after this answer.
yeah, I don't know. I never even thought about that question.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird question,
Yeah.
but
Is it though? Why are you like backing away and saying, "Oh, it's kind of a weird question"? You said you wanted to ask it for personal reasons. Why not tell her what those
Good
are?
question though.
I'm just fascinated because, like, we have so many brands and services that get brought to the world through
Yeah.
this style of marketing. I mean, it's amazing, it's powerful, and yeah, we all use different language, right?
Yep.
And language does matter, like words matter. So I was just
Yeah.
curious. You just nailed something though. Say that again. So you just gave kind of a framework, right, of the
She's like, "Please don't make me say it again."
things that you do for your team. Can you go a little deeper there on?
So she was saying that some coaches are just cheerleaders, but that she like trains and holds people accountable. So I don't know if her brand of sort of, tough love is a sort of Jillian Michaels level, or if it's a gentle coaching and correcting for people who want it. There's definitely a spectrum there of people who give feedback or, hold people accountable. I have a feeling that she's probably not a mean jerk like Jillian Michaels is, but
Okay, where do you spend your time? How do you look at all of those things? Like, how do you approach each and every one of those when it comes to you leading your business today?
Yeah, that's a really good question because yes, as the CEO of my business, I do wear a lot of hats, but one
are you the CEO of the multi-level marketing company you're in? I don't think you are. I think that you are probably high up as a distributor. We're going to check though after, but I don't think she's the CEO of the network marketing company. To be clear, I think that she is a rep of the company.
one thing that I have done in the past 2 years is hire a team.
Okay.
So I don't do it all. You absolutely, once you get, so far in a business, you can't do it all, right?
Of course
Like
not.
there's literally not enough hours in the day. So
Yeah, at a certain point you can't do it all. And what I find interesting, and I had to kind of take the shift myself, is that you're sort of rewarded for bootstrapping and doing it yourself. But at a certain point, that attitude is going to work against you because you're going to dump a bunch of time into stuff that isn't worthwhile for you to be doing. So, like I said at the beginning, you're bootstrapping, you're doing everything yourself. And then you have to make a shift to say, it is a lot more cost effective, efficient, and otherwise for me to offload my social media maintenance to a marketing company, to offload my bookkeeping to a bookkeeper, to offload cleaning the office to a cleaning company. You know what I mean? And actually, we are just hiring a cleaning company for the co working space starting in January. The Potsdam location opened in January of 2019. I've been cleaning that place, or somebody who works for me has been cleaning that place for the last 5 years. And now that we have a certain amount of members and a certain amount of people kind of coming through, it makes sense at this point to have a cleaning company come in and take care of things a couple of times a month while we do things like, dishes, trash, and sort of more everyday stuff. At a certain point, you have to say, does it make sense for me to spend 2 hours cleaning this co-working space? Or does it make sense for me to get out some marketing materials related to our office number 2, which is now open, right? So, like I said, at first it makes sense to do it yourself, but she's right. At a certain point, you have to start looking at what you feel comfortable offloading and how you are going to still keep an eye on things, still, manage quality control, still give feedback on it maybe, but maybe not be the person actively doing it.
I'm mostly what I call I'm mostly marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marketing and sales is where
Yeah, because you're a distributor or you're whatever, and your job is selling people products. Like that's your whole job. That's where your time should be spent.
wear most of my hats now, but I am the trainer because I have a curriculum that I have, baked out, and whether it's, daily post or videos. So I am coaching, and then I have a team of clients, of other coaches, or a team of coaches that actually do a lot more like cheerleading and supporting
And selling of products that I make a commission on.
my clients. So I've had to bring in, several people on my direct team so we can all run this successfully.
That's probably the
Similar.
vision for most people,
Yeah.
right? Is to build a business successful enough to where you can expand to allow yourself to do what you love and what you're great at to
It's also okay to say, you know what, like I don't want to expand. I want to keep my business a certain size and I want to do everything myself. That's valid too. But with growth, I guess what I'm saying is if you're trying to continuously grow at a certain point, you're not going to have enough energy to do everything yourself. But if you're just like, hey, I know that myself, I can handle 5 marketing clients and I can do everything myself. And I'm just always going to have only 5 clients at any given time. That's a perfectly valid stance to take too.
expand even further. That's a big conversation for people. I mean, there's so many people that they start building a decent team, a little bit of an income, and there's always the when do I make that leap?
Yeah.
What's your guidance? So like, when did you do everything yourself? For how long? To what point? And when did you like, man, I might want to start, getting some extra help? And what did those steps look like for you?
Yeah.
Okay, I know this isn't my interview, but I wanted to say how I would answer this question, which is basically doing a little bit of math. Because I have timed myself doing various tasks in my marketing company, I also know how long those things take to do for me. So when I have a staff member do it, I want the work done right. So I tell people when they work for me, listen, it takes what it takes. I'd rather you do it right and have it take longer than you expect than feel like you're rushing through it. So just be thoughtful, be methodical. This is the end product I want. This is how I would do it, and usually that's in video format, but it's kind of, up to them. So if you don't know how much time it takes you to do stuff, that's why you're going to have to time your tasks for 1 to 2 weeks. Now, let's say you start looking at your logs and you say, wow, I am spending about 4 hours a week on Instagram. Now, as a social media marketing company, that's probably accurate because we're scheduling content for clients and we're responding to, comments and messages and things like that. But maybe as a small business owner, you're like, yeah, I really am just logging into Instagram to post content and then I get sucked in. So maybe it would make sense for you to say, I want to produce the content. Like I really want there to be some, level of quality there that I want to do myself. And I want to answer any private messages that I get that makes sense for me to answer. So if it's just, somebody trying to sell me something or whatever, I just want those archived. So maybe you hire a marketing company and when your assets are done being created, you upload them into some kind of shared folder on Dropbox or something. And that company is in charge of scheduling and posting the content as well as moderating your comments. And when they see a message of interest, they will forward it to you via email so that you can log in and respond. But by taking logging out of Instagram off of your list, you can spend the time creating the content, which is the part that you actually care about, and not scrolling through and seeing what everybody else is doing. So you might find things that are just taking you a long time and you're looking at them and you're like, oh, I wonder how much it would take for somebody to reconcile my books once a month. And you find, a bookkeeper and they're like, oh yeah, I could do that for $100 a month. And you're like, I spend 5 hours a month doing that. Like I can bill out, X amount per hour. It makes sense for me to hire that out. They're faster at it than I am. And it's going to be an extra set of eyeballs on something like my bank account that might be important to me. So that's what I would do if you were trying to decide what to do. Track your time, see where there's time sinks that don't make sense, and maybe get some quotes from some potential providers who could help you to offload, that part of the workload. Like I said, whether it's marketing, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's, oh my God, like I spent all this time like unpacking boxes. Well, you know what? Maybe a local student is looking for a part-time job and they would come in 2 days a week and unpack the boxes, put things on hangers, and steam all the clothes before putting them away for you. So, highest and best use of your time is what you're going for. And the only way to know that is how you're currently spending your time and what you feel comfortable offloading.
So I, as Blake said, I'm about a decade into this. So when I first started grinding, I showed up every day. They said, don't watch movies. I remember the first time I watched a movie and I was like, it was a couple years into my business. And I was like, wow, this is the first movie that I've watched.
I kind of understand this because the first few years in business, I didn't really do much of anything. And I remember at the time my friends were really into Lost. And they're like, oh my God, Nicole, you have to watch it, but you have to watch it from the beginning. And I was like, I don't have time to catch up on Lost. So I get this. It's not a super healthy thing to do long term, but if you're like, okay, I'm just going to put my head down for the next 1 to 2 years and get this thing done, I think it's okay, but just, be careful about them telling you to have no fun because you need to have some fun. And if movies are like your favorite thing, don't go 2 years without seeing a movie.
In years, because I knew what it took. I knew I had to put in those hours. So I did that. I grinded for years doing everything on my own and probably did that for 7 years. Like all the years are kind of going together.
Okay, so did you not watch a movie for 2 years or did you grind and not do anything fun for 7 years? Like that, there's a big difference there. It's one thing, like I said, to temporarily say, you know what, I gotta suck it up, buttercup, and get some stuff done. It's another thing to spend the better part of a decade doing something that you don't do.
Probably did that for about 7 years. And then I got to this point where it was like, wow, I can't like burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah, so you're reaching burnout. See, that's exactly what happens when you don't let yourself have fun for 7 years.
This entrepreneur business is supposed to have the perks of like flexibility and, being able to, have some fun, some freedom, right?
How I explain flexibility to non-business owners as a small business owner is that I'm not as flexible in large things in my life, but I'm a lot more flexible in small things in my life compared to somebody who has, a day job, right? So I, for example, don't make as much money as I would in industry. I've been looking at jobs lately, and it's interesting to see that people advertising for, part of what I am able to do, who want like 3 to 5 years experience, the starting salary is double what I pay myself right now in some of these cases. So because I don't make a high amount of money, I can't make certain kinds of decisions. I can't go on a 3-week vacation where I don't work. I can't buy the nicest house on the block. Do you know what I mean? But like, let's say that I got a phone call right now and it was a friend that said, hey, I have concert tickets for Thursday night in Boston. Do you want to go? And you know what? I'd be like, sure, let's do it. And I could free up my schedule because I have control over my schedule. So it's flexibility, but I would have a different kind of flexibility that money could buy if I had a sort of better paying corporate job or a government job or a regular job that just, pays better. So, point being is the flexibility, has a little asterisk next to it for most small business owners. And it's a specific kind of flexibility, mainly with your time, that you have that non self employed people don't have as much of, but they do have things like money and vacation days. So they do have some of that as well. Self employment's fun, I swear.
So once you get to that point where you're like, wow, I can't be marketing and sales. I can't be a good coach. I can't be the cheerleader and the supporter, and I can't do it all. So what I did was I can't do all the back end stuff. So I hired somebody to.
I thought that you were in a multi-level marketing company and they took care of all the back end stuff. Why are you taking care of it now?
Take care of some back end stuff that I absolutely did not want to do, had no interest in doing. And then I hired a support team. So I hired a few people on my support team, like two. And then that's just kind of expanded to a little bit of a bigger support team. And then now I have a girl, she's my everything,
You mean a woman? God, I hate it when people say they have a girl. Can we just say that you work with another woman and she wears a lot of hats?
I could not even remember a couple of my employees. I cannot do my business without them. They're my absolute everything. But we all work together.
I mean, I think it's nice to acknowledge the contributions of your team, but having the mindset that you couldn't run your business without a particular person, I don't think is necessarily the healthiest thing ever. In particular, like, let's say that person is going to move on. So like Jane, for example, who works with me, she's like, Nicole, what are you going to do when I retire? And I said, Jane, I love you and I'll work with you as long as possible, but I'll find somebody else. It's okay. Like, don't hold up your retirement for my benefit. Do you know what I mean? So I think that there should probably be a plan B in general. And that's why it's important to understand, like, what is your staff doing? How are they doing it? Do you have like some kind of internal system, like a project management system? Do you have an internal communication or, way that you document processes? I think it's important because eventually people do, move on for a variety of reasons. And if you have somebody who's going to replace them, it's nice that you have these systems in place for them, not only to give them, time and the ability to learn the job, but also so that your business can run as seamlessly as possible when that kind of transition happens.
So, it's cohesive and it all works. But I'm going to say to your listeners, you probably need to hire people before you think you need to hire people.
That's good advice. And I love kind of the theme is like, you always want to.
Also, I think what most people don't realize is it takes time to train people and they're not going to be as fast as you, and you can't be frustrated about it. So when I give somebody a task to do, I take the time it would take me to do it, I double it, and that's what I expect them to reasonably be able to do it in. And if for some reason it takes longer than that, well, that tells me like I didn't give them enough direction, or maybe this was more difficult than I thought and they needed some other side information to like do this well. I didn't communicate the expectations well enough. But the idea is that if you have a continuous open line of communication with your staff, that they'll tell you before they sink like 6 hours into doing something that should take one. I forget where I was going with this. I'll remember in a second.
Wanted to be a CEO, right? You leapt into entrepreneurship and borrowed or leveraged an existing system that we all get to do, right, in a company. 7 years, everybody. I hope you heard what Ellen just said. 7 years, right? Of you were.
And they always put this in your head, right? You know what? You can go out and get a job in that first week or 2 weeks, depending on your pay period or so. You're going to get a paycheck for the time that you spent. You don't have to spend 7 years grinding to not get anything. You can just get a job, and it's not this like evil thing that these people make it out to be.
You were the everything, the CEO in every role. But now you're painting a vision for people of, wow, you're building a company within a company, a team within a team to support. I think that's amazing vision, and everybody, where I think a lot of people would love to get. Go a little deeper here. So there's probably two type of listeners, right? And what a lot of times people hear is they'll look at someone like you, who's obviously at the pinnacle of a company, right? Building a massive movement, now has a team of help. And sometimes we turn that into an excuse. Well, of course she can do it. I mean, she has all these people that are helping.
You have the same amount of hours in the day as Beyonce. I hate this mindset. It's not an excuse to acknowledge that if someone makes money, they can effectively buy time. Like, if I made a certain amount of money, I could have somebody prepping my meals, doing my laundry, walking my dog, although she doesn't like walking with anyone but me, but do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's not an excuse that this woman is able to do so much because she has a team and money, but it is the reason that she's able to do the amount she's able to do. And she literally just said that a minute ago. I couldn't do this without my team. Like, come on.
Her, what can I do?
Yeah.
What did a day in your life look like in those first 7 years, right? When you were in the build mode. And then what does a day in your life look like today, right?
What I wish these people would say is, in addition to what does your day look like, what does your financial reality look like the first year in business versus, the year that we're in now? Because, like, I remember, I think it was February of 2009. I remember, yeah. So 2008, I still had my job up until I think May. I had a full-time job. And then I switched to a part-time job for the summer. So the part-time job went through to, I think, mid-October of 2008. And that's not to say that I didn't do catering, I didn't tutor, I didn't work adult ed, I didn't do Airbnb hosting. I always usually worked some other sort of side gigs throughout the years, but in terms of having, like, be here at a time and place and get a paycheck, that ended in October of 2008. In February of 2009, I remember that month because I made $250 the entire month. And I had a account that I could draw from that had about a year's worth of expenses in it. And that's how I was able to start my company. So I spent 12 hours promoting things on social media and recording videos and blah, blah, blah. And then if none of these activities seems to be income producing, as they say, we have to ask ourselves, okay, so where's the money coming from then? Is it coming from her husband? Is it coming from savings? Is it coming from, some other place that she has, like a part-time job or something, right? So you can work as hard as you want, but most of us have to make some amount of money because we have expenses to live. So until they say that part, it's really hard to look at a day in their life and take it as seriously without knowing how they're paying to continue to, for example, stay in their house.
Right, as Ellen of today, when it comes to your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as I said, like before in the beginning years, I mean, it would be getting up, working out really early because I had young kids. So of course, like I had to get that done. That was like my business, but that was also my passion. So, you do that, get the kids off. And, if they were like in preschool or whatever, I would work, the whole time that they were in school. Then, I mean, just going to be honest, my son would come home and I would pop a laptop or an iPad in front of him. I mean, I very much sacrificed. I poured myself into my business and not my family in my early years. And now I've kind of.
Okay, rewind to the beginning of this video where she's like, I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and it's really important for me to stay home with my kids. And now she's saying, well, when I started this business, I sort of put my kids on the back burner a bit. Like, that's what she's kind of implying here. If you felt like your corporate job was taking away time with your children, but then you start your own business so that you can be with your children, and then you're like, you know what, like I really wasn't spending a lot of time with my children. Okay, then don't say you're doing it to spend time with your children then. Like, just acknowledge that, like, I didn't want to do the corporate job. I want to do this other job instead. It has nothing to do with my children. Just say that.
Shifted those things, but I did what I had to do because I was willing to do things that other people weren't willing to do, right?
She was willing to put her kids to the side to grow this business. Okay. Like that's the lesson here. Now, what I want to ask is where her husband is in all this or her other support system, because I understand that having young kids is a lot and starting a business is a lot. But maybe if she had some additional support, she wouldn't have had to shove an iPad in her kid's face. Like, again, these are her words, not mine, okay? I'm not saying that she must have shoved an iPad. She said a second ago that she put an iPad in front of her kid to get through, okay?
Being an entrepreneur is willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do to be successful. So
Right, and when I decided that I was going to be self-employed, I made 2 decisions the year that I did that. I said, "Number 1, Nicole, you're probably never gonna own a home, because you're probably not gonna be financially stable enough to do that. And number 2, you're not gonna have kids, because it's one thing if you have to eat ramen for a month because you don't have enough money, it's another thing to ask a kid to do that." So, I understood in starting my business by myself as a single person that those 2 things probably would not be open to me. And again, it was like 2008, 2009, so we all remember that economy, right? Which is similar to the one we're in now. But anyway, point being is that, sometimes you can't have it all at once and you have to kind of decide what your priorities are. And I understand she's like deciding her priorities, but at the very beginning, she's like, it was so important for me to stay home with my kids. Well, if you were at a corporate job and came home and spent time with your kid versus you picked up your kid and you shoved an iPad in front of them for 2 hours until you were, you know, done around 5, like, how is that any different? Yes, you're physically, I guess, nearby, but it's not like you're necessarily actively spending time with your kid or something. So I just don't like that these people villainize having a job and then they'll say stuff like this as if it's really noble.
So, come home. I mean, I'm working like, maybe take a little bit of break, but, grinding it in front of the computer most of the day, then maybe taking a break, in the afternoon for dinner and afternoon time, and then back on at night and work and, on my phone, mostly like on my phone, sending I did a lot of messaging, tons and tons of messaging.
Yeah, you have to do a ton of messaging to sell these products and to resell some of these people these products. And let's face it, how many of these kind of, hey girl messages have you gotten that you've responded to? I mean, most of the ones I get, I just kind of ignore, and I think probably most people do too. So not only is she spending time sending messages, but probably she has a relatively low rate of return from that time. So it's not even like an effective necessarily use of her time.
To like cold people, a lot of like cold lead messaging at that time. And I would work until I went to bed, and then I'd go to bed. And like I said, I didn't watch movies, I didn't watch TV. I did my personal development in the morning along with my workout. That was a big part of what I would do in the morning. And I did that for a long time.
Well, what about your personal relationships, right? What about like the relationship with your husband, the relationship with the rest of your extended family, relationship with friends, right? Whether or not your business is successful or not, you're still going to be a person with these relationships. So I think you do have to spend some time maintaining those too. And hopefully she did.
And then, like I said, then I kind of shifted. Now I just feel like I have more flexibility. I mean, I have a kind of I have older kids now, so I'm able to kind of shift things around a little bit. But now I spend more time exercising and walking and saunaing and taking care of my health in the morning. And I work for a couple hours in the afternoon. I work. It's always about pockets of time. We as entrepreneurs
It turns out you have to grind for 7 years before you have the luxury of working within pockets of your time.
know, like our work is, in our hands, right? It's in your right hand at all times. So,
Listen, I do social media marketing for a living and I have 2 co-working spaces, and I'm not working this much, okay? And maybe that's why I'm not as financially successful as her, but I don't think so. But yeah, you don't. Oh my God, this is so sad.
there's a lot of like pockets of time work, but then, I'll work for a couple hours in the afternoon, usually before my kids get home, they get home, I'm able to have more time with them, more free time. And I don't, it kind of depends on the evening, but I'm definitely not working until I go to sleep. I'm
Mhm.
definitely,
Okay, so now she's working 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, in pockets of time throughout the day, in a bit in the evening, but not until she sleeps. So let's pretend that she's working like 6 hours a day. I mean, honestly, like if I could make a full-time income and work 30 hours a week, I totally would do it. But I mean, to have grinded and lost time with your young children and to made all these personal sacrifices where you didn't watch a movie for 7 years, I don't know if it was worth it. I think probably she could get a part-time job and be making money in a much less stressful way and not feel like the work is following her everywhere on her phone. But how do I know?
watching movies. I'm watching shows with my husband before bed now. Like
Now,
I have more free time now. I
so curious what her husband thinks about this whole time period.
can go on vacation now and know that my business is taken care of.
Mhm.
And there were years and years when I was like, I don't even know how do I schedule a vacation? And I mean, I'm still showing up every day.
I mean, for me, like, there's just certain times a year where I can't really take a vacation easily. So, like, usually Thanksgiving to Christmas just sucks. But usually for me, because a lot of my clients are seasonal, like, usually like January through like mid-March is pretty chill. So that's doable. And what I can do is if I know I'm taking the vacation ahead of time, I can kind of make sure that I don't schedule any meetings. So I like block off that time in my scheduling calendar. And I check in with my coworkers, hey, I want to take a vacation at the time, okay, and then they know I'm not around so that they can, be checking messages and things like that. And then I've never gone anywhere where there's like no internet. I'm not saying that that wouldn't be great because it would, but I normally, when I'm on vacation, I'll check my email like once a day or something and just have some kind of autoresponder on to just let people know, hey, I'm on vacation. Maybe I'm in a weird time zone. If you need help, here's how to get a hold of, my coworker who can help you. And then she can kind of act like a filter to relay messages to me. Sometimes it'll be my friend Matt too, who doesn't work in the company, but has a complementary company. And so there have been times where like I check his email messages or he checks mine. One time I even went away and I just gave access to my email to another person. And I was like, take care of any problems that come up and I'll write you a check when I get back. So, there's plenty of ways to like have vacations as a self-employed person. It just, again, I'm not as flexible in the large things. So I have to like look at it ahead and sort of plan it. But, then I have a lot of flexibility in my day-to-day. So the good with the bad, right?
Damn vacation because I'm still showing up on social media every day. Again, this isn't like just going the business, the business doesn't sleep.
You said though that you could take a vacation and then you're like, but I have to take this with me. Okay, so why don't you acknowledge that like you have to work while you're on vacation? Like just say that.
Ever. I do work every weekend. I can't imagine not working on a Saturday or a Sunday, but I
don't work every weekend. Again, I probably don't make as much money as her, but I don't know. I'd rather have a little bit of personal sanity.
I always look at that as like sacrifice because if I want to go get a facial on a Tuesday or a massage or whatever, I can because I know it's there. I do it every day.
Again, I wonder how her corporate husband, who probably has weekends off, feels about her working the entire weekend. I'm so curious about this.
So the Ellen of today, looking back on the
Oh my God, that logo bugs me so much. The F and the T are so close together and it's a little bit shifted. Maybe it's shifted on purpose. I just realized
Ellen,
that.
those first 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. My question for the Ellen of today is,
Just notice another element of this logo. Sorry, this is the last visual thing I'll talk about unless something comes on the screen, I promise. DSN, the way that it's written, it looks like Home Shopping Network logo. Maybe editing Nicole will put both on the screen side by side so we can see if the font is similar. But I feel like it has a similar feel. And I think he's trying to make it like he's a real network or something.
Worth it.
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Like I said, yes. You've got to put in the work. You've got to be willing to do hard things. You have to be willing to do what others wouldn't do.
Yeah, you have to be willing to put an iPad in front of your kids, work every single weekend, not see movies for 7 years. I don't know. This list sucks, I'll be honest with you.
So I did things that were out of my comfort zone. I sacrificed.
Okay, what was out of your comfort zone? You haven't said anything that you felt like was out of your comfort zone. Were you asked to do things that you didn't want to do? I want to know what those are.
Yes, I sacrificed family time. And that's just a personal decision. I'm not saying that everyone has to sacrifice family time or stick their toddlers
You have to do what others are not willing to do. I'm not saying that you have to do that.
in front of an iPad, but it's just a personal decision. I wanted to be successful. I knew that I had the passion to be successful. So I was willing to do whatever that meant.
I appreciate you being so direct and just being real, because you have to do the work, right? And it's so easy to see people that are 10 years in.
I haven't seen a business or a job where I haven't had to work to get paid. It's very like Kim Kardashian. People don't want to work anymore. If you know, you know.
Or at the top of a rewards plan, or on Instagram, right? Posting the how they're spending their days.
Yeah.
And think that that's where you start. It doesn't matter who you are, what business you're in, what product you're promoting. You have to do the work in order to unlock.
Yeah, I don't need you negging me, Blake. Also, this video is called like how she got 100,000 followers. We are more than halfway through and we have not talked about Instagram or other social media growth whatsoever.
That lifestyle. So thank you for being so direct and being like,
Yeah.
yo, I did 7 years of putting in the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I have friends that have been in the business and that's taken them a lot shorter. But of course, everybody in this business is going to see results at different times.
Why is that, Ellen? Is it because some people are coming in from other multi-level marketing companies, or they've already built up a social media following, or they are, good looking or young or well connected or something like that? Like, can we just acknowledge that not everyone starts at the same place and is working with the same resources, and that can affect timelines pretty significantly?
Of course, there's the people that like, oh my gosh, like overnight, they're like this like huge success, but that is not the norm at
Are they successful overnight, or did you just notice them and think they became successful overnight?
all. But if you keep with it, you keep putting your work in, and showing up and being consistent every day, you're going to see the fruits of your labor.
Not necessarily, Ellen. That's not really how life works. I think we've all had something in our life that we worked really hard at and weren't successful at. I will use a personal example. I was on my high school ski team. I'm not very good at skiing. I should say this. If we would go skiing together, you'd be like, "Wow, you're a good skier." I am not impressive as a racing skier. And in my high school, you actually had to race both cross country and downhill to be on the team. Although senior year, if you wanted to, you could specialize. So for 3 years, I thought maybe I'll make varsity at some point. But for 3 years, I did not. So senior year, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to race downhill anymore, and I'm going to go all in on cross country. And I'm going to go all in on classic skiing, which is one style of cross country skiing, the Nordic track one, where you're in the track and you're going like that. So I decided that I was going to spend every weekend skiing, working on techniques. I went to ski camp, and every practice I did one extra loop on the trail. I had a headlamp, and I would basically, if we did 2 loops for practice, I would go and I would do a third 3-mile loop. Okay. I was in the best shape of my life. I'd watch ski videos to improve my technique. And I still only made varsity when somebody on our team broke her leg. That's how I made varsity the senior year, because my times weren't going to do it. But then someone broke their leg, so then I was able to ski in her place. My senior year my last race. I was able to race varsity for the first time ever, and the only time ever, as it turned out. So, I guess what I'm saying is you can work really hard, and yeah, you'll get the coaches award at the end of the year. And yeah, your skiing will improve and everything. It doesn't mean you're going to make the varsity team. So, for what that's worth, you can work really hard at something and not get the rewards. We all know that. And now you know just one of my stories where I worked really hard and didn't get something. I could tell you like 10 or 15 other stories just like that, but that's far enough away from that it feels less painful to talk about.
I love it. And for all of you guys listening, it is worth it. And the future you is going to look back on the days right now and say the same thing Ellen just said. It is worth it. So if you're in the hustle and in the grind,
We only hear from the people who make it to the top, though, right? Who say, oh my God, all that work was worth it. We don't hear from the people who worked really hard and didn't make it, or who had to drop out before they made it because they actually had to go get a job and make money, right? So it's kind of like I dated this guy once, and I think his grandparents or something, they met and they got married within 2 weeks of knowing each other. And then they were married for like 60 years. And they told that story all the time. But what I tried to tell him was that we don't hear about the people who knew each other for 2 weeks, got married, and then were like, oh crap, and got immediately divorced. We don't hear those stories. So there's this sort of like survivor bias here going on.
you're doing the right thing. You're on the right path. You know, and you said almost a decade, right? So almost a decade, a lot has shifted. I mean, a lot in the world has shifted, right? A lot within this channel has shifted. A
Oh my God, if he says the word
lot
shift
within
one more
just where
time.
people are at today, right, has shifted. From your vantage point, like what have been some of the largest shifts that you've seen in just this channel, right? This industry, this style of marketing, you know, today versus previous years?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are more suspicious of multi-level marketing than I ever have been. And I feel like that's the biggest shift I've seen, but I'll be curious if she acknowledges that shift.
Well, I mean, just starting out, I mean, the biggest thing was, I mean, it's all been social media. Everything that I have done is 100% on social media. So that's why I love this business. I didn't want to do, so I don't do any face-to-face stuff. So when I first started, it was just, everything was on Facebook. And, I was just doing, on Facebook and videos. Just, I mean, so we're still in videos. It's always been videos, you guys. It's like I was doing all these videos. I would do.
I feel like in 2009, I mean, very few people were doing videos on Facebook, but I understand what she's saying, that there's been a shift the last few years, maybe the last 10. So I guess, between like sort of these live stream expectations on Facebook and then more of these short form sort of reels and stories that are now being posted. So instead of horizontally filmed longer form videos dominating Facebook, now it's vertically filmed short videos dominating Facebook. But uh, yeah, when Facebook first started though, and in 2009, I remember we would post 3 times a week. God, I miss that.
Do like all these workout videos just to attract people, but I on Facebook. So that was, the first thing. And then, Instagram was always just a platform to, for people to post pretty pictures on. Right.
Mhm.
And then comes, oh, well, people are really shifting over to Instagram. So I think we need to like learn this new platform. So I
mean, I don't think you should concentrate all your marketing on any single platform, and I've used the analogy before, like you wouldn't take all your money and put it into one stock. You wouldn't take all your grocery money and only buy potatoes. Like you need to diversify, right? For a variety of reasons.
learned, got on Instagram, figured out how to do that. Really then when Instagram, went big, really focused on Instagram. I have a very big, what I would say is a pretty big presence on Facebook still. I know a lot of people don't, but I have a page there I started there, in 2014. So it's still going. So
It's almost like when you join an emerging platform during a time of growth, you do well. It's almost like joining a multi-level marketing company at the start of the company. You do well.
I do similar stuff there. I push everything is the same, but shifting over to Instagram, that was a big shift. But then came Well, before it was stories. Oh, it's Snapchat, right? Like then it was like, oh, we all need to like.
I refuse to do Snapchat. It's one of the few lines I've drawn in the marketing sand for myself. I just cannot give a shit about Snapchat. I'll be honest with you.
Hop on Snapchat. So for a hot minute, I hopped on Snapchat because that's what we needed to do. And then
my marketing company survived without being on Snapchat. I don't think you had to do it.
That kind of turned into like a teen thing. And, and then it was like, okay, well, we got to do these like Instagram stories. And so this is what's going to happen. Like, there's all these new things where we're like, oh, I mean, I got to like talk on stories. Like I gotta do this. I was really hesitant at first, but of course, then I was like, well, I mean, I'm going to have to do whatever we got to do to be successful. So get on stories, do that for a while. Then all of a sudden, TikTok is there. I am not on TikTok. I've tried TikTok. It's not my thing.
That's fine. Not every platform is going to be your thing.
I just it didn't feel like it was a lot. It's just not my thing. So anyways, but there is that TikTok. So you could be working that. But then Reels came out, right? And it was like, you better be doing Reels.
And I think that was around 2019 when Instagram introduced Reels. Obviously, TikTok had been going longer than that, but I think that's when they kind of added Reels to their platform. And it was to keep people on the platform. And people went from spending like 15 minutes on Instagram before Reels to spending like 30 minutes on Instagram after Reels. So essentially doubling the amount of time they spent on the platform. And when you spend double the amount of time on a platform, obviously they can show you more ads and they can do other things, related to monetizing you if you stay on their platform longer. So yeah.
And when those Reels came out, I was like, no way can I do these? Like, this is scary. I'm going to have to like be an actress. I'm going to have to like learn how to dance. I'm like, I am not going to do this. So I was very hesitant. Yeah. But when I finally decided to, and it wasn't even finally, it was pretty in the beginning stages of the Reels. I was like, I got to do this because if I don't do this, like I'm going to be behind. And I have seen accounts that didn't hop on the Reels trend and they didn't grow. And I hopped on that Reels trend, and a couple months later, well, you know what? My account grew from 18,000 people. This was in 2022. My account popped up at the beginning of 2022 from 18,000 people, quickly up to 55,000, then quickly up to 118,000 by the end of 2022.
We are 33 minutes into a 57-minute broadcast. How she grew her account was posting Reels. Okay. So that's our answer. Now, content-wise, we'll go take a look at her Reels and maybe I'll go scroll back to 2022 and see what she was posting then to kind of see what the growth was about.
When you know what I saw with that, my business expanded massively. I doubled my business from 2021 to 2022. And that was because I started doing Reels, and I did not let that fear of like, what are people going to think of me? I'm going to be an actress, I didn't let that fear hold me back. So, and I've kept on it, and, I've seen some, and it's a crapshoot. Instagram is a total crapshoot. I mean, I'm sure many of you.
I grew my account by posting Reels, but Instagram is a crapshoot. I appreciate her acknowledging this. Like, hey, just because you post Reels content doesn't mean that you're going to get 100,000 followers.
We're like, I'm doing all the right things and I have no followers, and so it is literally like the Instagram gods blessed me, but I believe they blessed me because I was consistent and I put out content.
What did I say at the beginning? Put out consistent content and be your authentic self. That's what
that was valuable, that people wanted. Mm-hmm. And so that to me, like again, just sort of making those social media shifts is really my whole business is from social media.
I want to extract real quick and highlight, guys, there's huge lessons in the experience that Ellen just shared. Because looking back, it might've been Facebook to Instagram, and Instagram maybe to TikTok. You did the jump or you didn't make the jump, or post to Reels, like all these things, Snapchat for a hot minute. But here's the truth. It's always going to be that way.
Like clockwork, this cat knows I've been filming for 2 hours and he just jumped up on my desk and started meowing at me. Let's keep going.
Technology by definition is always going to be evolving. So that may be looking at yesterday, but looking at tomorrow, it's going to have different names and be different features and different things, but the principles remain the same. And Ellen, what I'm hearing is you embraced the shift. You were willing to jump in and try new things, find what works, not do the things that didn't resonate, do more of the things that were getting results. And I think that's always going to be the case. But diving to work, so you said all. So like literally 100% of your business right now is social media driven. There's nothing happening like in person. Like,
no, none.
Okay, 100%.
None.
You said platforms. You're saying for you, it's like Facebook, Instagram right now?
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. My Facebook page definitely took a hiatus for a while, and it's like really picked up. I don't know. All of a sudden I'm like, there's people on Facebook. My demographic of women is 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, believe it or not. And I do feel like there's, I'm going to be 45 in a couple of weeks.
Okay, we're close to the same age. I'm 43.
So
Happy birthday coming up.
Yeah, thank you. I still feel like there's that older generation that is like still on Facebook. So don't ever exclude it. I mean, if it worked for you in the past, maybe it may work for you. So
I mean, you knew your demographic just like that. How important is understanding a niche, so to speak, or a demographic or positioning?
How important is it to understand who your customers are?
That important in our approach on social media?
Absolutely.
She's like, why are you asking me this dumb question?
That's definitely another shift that I made, is talking to my ideal client. You absolutely need to know everything about your ideal client. Okay. It's like, who is she? What does she want? What does she think she needs to do? What does she actually need to do? What are her desired results? What are the results that you're actually going to get her? Okay. It's like six buckets, about 5 or 6 buckets. If you take the time to go through your ideal client, and in nearly every single post, you're talking to your ideal client, she's going to come to you, or he's going to come to you, whoever it is, he, she, whatever, it's like, why, whoever you're selling this cup to, like, who is that? Like, why do they need the cup? What's the cup going to do for them? All the things you need to know that. And if you don't know that about your client, then
I keep thinking that the cup has the logo of the MLM she's in on it. We'll look after.
Or your potential buyer, you're missing the mark, because then you're trying to you're just like casting this like wide net to everyone, instead of talking to the one person that's like, oh yeah. When I mean, the way I look at it is either they come across my reel comes across or my post, whatever it is, comes across their feed, and they're like shaking their head, and they're like, she gets me. I need this. She knows exactly what I need. Or they're at home and they're like, oh, I'm like not feeling really good. I need to like lose weight. Like, oh yeah, there's that girl on the internet. Her name is Ellen Ludwig. I need to go find her, and I need to go reach out to her.
I mean, beautifully put. And when you were explaining that, you kind of put the visual in my head of, if you're just blasting content out in any direction for anyone, it's kind of like you're being a floodlight. But if you know who your target demographic, your avatars, you're saying your ideal client is, you kind of take that energy and focus it as a laser, right, to who you are going to support. So is that the way you think about creating content? So you
are these questions really dumb, or is it just me?
Answer these buckets you just eloquently gave us, and now you're going to create your reels or your posts or your stories. So are you literally thinking about the answers to those questions when you're creating that content? What does that look like for you?
Always. So it's like, I know my client, she's in her 40s, 50s, or 60s. She is like, going through these like, different perimenopause, menopause stages of life. I know what she's struggling with. She's struggling with belly fat. I know she, is probably doing too much cardio. She's probably not lifting weights. She probably thinks she doesn't need to eat carbs. She needs more protein, but she doesn't know how to get more protein. So all of these buckets. So what did I do? Today I gave a recipe, but it's a high protein recipe. Yesterday I was like talking about, why she needs to eat carbs. Monday I'm talking about, or Tuesday, whatever, talking about why she needs to eat protein, helping her through all of those things, and then when I'm promoting, yes, I'm talking about, do these things so you can see results, or don't do these things that she's, doing. So always thinking about either what she's doing, what she's not doing, what she needs to do, how she wants to feel.
I love following a bunch of people on the internet who tell me what to do.
All of those things every time.
You know, I hope you guys are listening and taking notes, because Ellen is literally giving you a
On what? Tell them what to do. Post content consistently. Think about your audience. Like, what are we taking notes on? We all know this.
content strategy or a content map that's working for her in a major way.
She just gave like 2 post ideas. Like, I posted a high protein recipe and I told people why they should eat carbs. Is that an entire strategy? Because it doesn't sound like one to me. It sounds like 2 content examples, but not an entire strategy.
It's not about posting your recipe book. It's not about posting your meal. Get the framework that she's delivering, right? Identifying those buckets for yourself, and then creating content to answer what those are, right, for your business and your passion. I think that's gold, Ellen. Do you have any sort of rhythm, like on frequency, like you're posting X many times or X many types of content on X many platforms? Or like, are you
This is what every social media person being interviewed gets asked. Like, basically, do you have some insight on this platform? Is timing really that important? Do I need to produce a lot of content? These are kind of the sub questions under this question.
down to that detail, or is it arbitrary?
I mean, I post every day. So, I do 1 post a day. I don't do more than 1 post a day. Honestly, you hear everything, right? You hear the social media gurus that are like, oh, you need to post like 3 to 5 times a day. I'm like, people do not need to see me constantly. And
I agree. There's something called the law of diminishing returns, right? Where you can do more work and you'll still get gains, but they won't be as good. So my blog used to be a daily blog for like 5 years, and then I was spending a lot of time on it. And I thought, I wonder what would happen if I cut down to posting like twice a week or 3 times a week. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like half, right? So going from 7 days a week to 2 to 3 days a week. And then I did that for a year, and then I looked at my traffic and I noticed that my traffic decreased like 30. Now, I was doing 50% less work, but the amount I lost was about 30%. So it was a worthwhile thing for me to figure out that posting a few times a week or once a week was beneficial, but posting 5 to 7 days a week was a little bit more beneficial, but not for the amount of work it was. So you got to do this experimenting for yourself. If you want, you can try posting twice a week for like a month and then compare it. Ideally, don't do it like in December or some time of year where, things are weird. Like if you're a small business and you make a majority of your money in December, it's not really fair to compare like that month versus, the previous month. Make your decisions about how often you post, not only for your own sanity, but with data before you come to any conclusions.
in their news feed, because you know what, if they start seeing me constantly, then they're going to be like tuning me out. Okay. So that's my personal opinion. I just don't think that I need to do.
It's an opinion, and it's perfectly fine to have that opinion. And I'm glad she's saying this is my opinion versus like, I tested this out and this is, true. Absolutely.
Do more than 1 a day. I'm like, I need to nail it instead of like putting out a bunch of content that might not be stellar. I'd rather do one post that's actually like really good rather than like, oh, we're going to like do this and that. But I 1 post a day, it's either, a reel or, maybe like a carousel post. So we've got that going. Do I have a specific content strategy? I mean, loose as again, I really just rely on like, I know my clients so well. So I know what I need. I know what I need to post. I usually know exactly what I'm going to do the day before, and I'm loosely thinking about days, but I am going to be honest. I am not a planner. I do not.
So are you posting with any content strategy in mind, or did that just kind of accidentally happen? It sounds like she's like, oh, I think kind of day to day. So it doesn't sound like she's saying like, okay, on Mondays, I always post a recipe, a high protein recipe, and I got to think about what that recipe is. It sounds like she's like planning kind of moment to moment. So this whole like she has a content strategy thing, I don't know if it's actually true.
Plan like super far in advance. I used to, when reels were a little bit different because they were a little bit acted out, and now reels aren't as like acted out. I don't like do a bunch ahead of time. But I do stories all day. So it's literally just right now, it's like, the Instagram and Facebook posts are the same. And then I do my stories, and that's it right now.
She posts once a day. So she has a post on her main pages, right? And then she has, it sounds like stories with an S, so multiple stories. So it sounds like she's posting at least 3 pieces of content a day. One in feed that goes to both Facebook and Instagram, and then 2 stories, with an S, 2 pieces of content that sit in her stories. So that doesn't sound like 1 piece of content. That sounds like 3 minimum. But she said the word stories with an S. That's why I'm saying 2 pieces of content there minimum.
I have a goal to get a YouTube channel going because clearly I love to talk, and potentially have my own podcast. But I got to get that worked into my schedule for this year.
Yeah, we'll go see if she's got one after.
I love it. Are there any go-to like tools or apps that you're using real frequently that you'd love to give our listeners to dive into?
I'm just literally Instagram. I mean, I don't keep it simple.
She like schedules and creates content within the Instagram editor, which is fine. I like to edit outside the platform because I can do it on a computer. I hate doing shit on my phone unless I absolutely have to. And B, I feel like I have a lot more control over it. There are times where I've tried to just edit with an Instagram or TikTok. I'm like, I'm just going to post this real quick. And then it like didn't save my edit or something like that. So I just don't sometimes trust these platforms to save my edits in the way that I would if I was working on them on a computer.
Instagram, I used to do a lot of editing in like other apps. I did a lot of Reels editing in other apps, and now Reels has really upped their game.
Yeah, they've tried to copy like CapCut, which is TikTok's editor.
Way you can trim and fast forward and slow down and do all the things, and you can add all their fonts. And I mean, it's like you just do it. Just do it all in the Instagram app. I mean, of course, Canva is really great for like carousel type posts. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Canva for those types of like graphics.
I mean, so good. I mean, you just gave us all a framework to follow, right? And it doesn't matter who you are, what you're promoting, you can.
How is this a framework? Edit within Instagram, make graphics in Canva. How is this a framework?
Do what Ellen just gave for yourself in your own way. And that's going to create attraction, right? And that's going to create, new conversations and new customers and build a team. Is there anything you're doing kind of post sign up, so to speak, for your customers or your team to like, once somebody's you got them offline, right? Through the social media conversation, and now they're like a part of what you're doing, to create community or bring people to.
Basically, does she have a Facebook group, an email newsletter, a texting list, a Discord or a Slack channel, or something that allows for sort of communication with the group, or for her to contact that group directly
Together or create connection? Is there any bridge there? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, immediately post sign up, of course, they get like emails from me, and for my program. But then
emails from my program. So again, we still haven't learned the name of this network marketing company. So do they have this network marketing company have like canned emails? I don't know. I feel like you could, maybe personalize them a little bit, but
they are part of what my coaching is. I have groups. So that's what I start. It's a 6-week.
I think what she means is a Facebook group
program. I start a group. Everybody starts at the same date. So they're all in a cohort together for their 6 weeks. And then they move into my larger community. So after they go through their 6 weeks and then they continue on with me, they are in a larger community. And I always tell them I have the best community ever I swear I have the most amazing clients. So we've really just created this amazing sense of community. I always say my larger community is like the best friend group that you never knew existed, because I guarantee when we're in these like entrepreneurial roles, whatever we're selling or promoting, we're not like talking about this stuff to our friends all the time. Believe it or not, like I don't talk health and fitness to my friends ever.
Yeah, because they would feel like you were trying to sell them stuff all the time, and I don't think people value that in
Really,
friendship.
like that's not their passion, it's my passion. And so I have found women who, right, who I help, and then they're passionate about it. So then, we have this amazing community that, we're able to, we engage every single day over there. I absolutely love it. But I mean, so we have like a group sense of community there, but I even feel like, just even on social media in general, like when you're on your stories and you're just like talking to your people, I mean, they feel like there's a community there. Like they
Sure, and I think it's important to acknowledge, though, whether it's that you're posting content, group and sort of directing that conversation, or whether you're posting a story and allowing people to react to it, that you're the one driving the conversation and picking the topics and things like that and setting the tone. So it can feel two-way, but there's still a little bit of a hierarchy there.
they feel like they know you. They feel like they're like your best friend. Like that's what you want.
They feel like you're their best friend, but not the other way around. It's called a parasocial relationship.
You want them again to be like, oh, they're thinking about you, they're thinking about whatever. Oh, Ellen, I watch her every day. Like I need to go send her a message because I want to go join her.
That's a great.
I don't want people to feel like I'm their best friend if I don't have a relationship with them. Oh my God. I know I'm almost done. Okay. The cat is like, stop filming.
Great point. I mean, if you know your demo, you're creating your content, you're kind of speaking to them. They feel like you're speaking right to them because of what you said earlier. It does create kind of a community even online. But what you said is actually a really unique kind of system where you said, okay, once someone becomes a customer, you're putting them in a community for 6 weeks. You use the word cohort, right? A group together. Before
the word cohort is used when people are going through an experience at the same pace at the same time. Like she says, these 6-week groups, and people start on the same day and they go through it. I think the idea with a cohort is that they're able to kind of talk to each other and they're going through things in a set order at a set pace. Whereas these kind of self-paced online classes, I could be joining it today, someone else could be joining it 4 weeks from now, somebody else could join it on Saturday. We're all like watching the videos or doing the stuff at different times. So I think the cohort implies the togetherness of going through the content.
Or they go into the massive kind of full group community, which I think is probably something that's unique. If I were to pull the whole industry, I think a lot of people,
most of these people have large groups that they put people into. I don't get how
come
it's
through the
unique,
front door and they instantly go to the big group. They don't have this kind of onboarding bubble.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to bring people through the content. They're like, oh, I just want to sell an online course and like not talk to people. And it's like, well, that's part of what people buy is in addition to the information, they're buying access to, support and maybe some additional information that you as the instructor are going to provide. So I think that that's smart. If she's going to sell someone a program, most of the people don't want to do that part, but that's the part that a lot of students are looking for.
What is that? When you say community, is that like a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, a Facebook group, Zoom calls?
It's a Facebook group. It's a Facebook group, and they get a daily post in there that's either like an education post or they get videos from me. So I have a lot of videos, pre-recorded videos that I do for them.
Okay, so she's posting to the cohort, but she's posting pre-recorded content. And she probably has a set group of posts that, okay, on week 1, these are the posts that I post to the group. And on week 2, this is because she's done this enough, right? But I'd be curious if she gives them some kind of one-on-one or group access to her during a time that she can actually talk to them live.
And we do that for the first 6 weeks. And then when I'm in my bigger community, that's where then we might do like some live Zoom calls together as a group, Facebook Live.
It's weird that you wouldn't do that in the small 6-week groups. I feel like that would be valuable to provide, but I guess you got to get people to stick around for some reason, right?
That kind of thing. But yeah, absolutely. Getting new clients, new buyers, new, whatever you're selling in together at one time and in a small environment it just makes it so much less intimidating. So then if they're thrown into, a bigger group, they kind of know what they're doing before they get into the big group.
I think that's so profound. I mean, it's
I think it's smart. I don't know if it's profound, but
simple, but like you said, if it's a smaller group, right? They feel more seen and heard.
but it's kind of an onboarding process in part, right? Like you've sold them this like 6-week thing and they're in a small group and they're sort of being oriented into how you work before they get dumped into the bigger group. So I feel like in addition to being valuable, this is also a bit self-serving too.
Before they're kind of thrown into a bigger group, right? So there's that recognition and belonging thing there. But there's also maybe more the practical that for new people, there's basic stuff you got to teach them, and you're going to tell to them. And if you can't just be saying that same thing over and over again to people that have been around for a long time, that'll get really old. So it allows you to kind of speak what matters to the people that it matters most. And I guarantee you, although for you that's probably simple, for listeners out there, maybe consider like, is there a group or a community you're building for whatever your new classes are before they're moving on to the broader? And what does that look like for you? I think that's a great insight.
I mean, you can also do this through a series of text messages or a series of onboarding emails. Most companies, when you start at them, they have some kind of orientation period. So maybe when you bring on a new client or something, you have some initial kind of, whether it's documents or whether it's videos or something that you like want them to watch as they start working with you. There's different ways to create this process besides doing a cohort style Facebook group. So I just wanted to acknowledge that here.
I want to leave time for kind of like closing thoughts or anything on your mind or your heart. This has already been gold. I love, kind of the mindset
What's on your heart, Ellen?
stuff at the beginning, but also just you're getting really tactical with us on social. And I know you're like, you're
What? How tactical has this been? I edit things in Instagram Reels. I post a one piece of content and 2 stories a day. I use small groups, cohorts, to go through a program for 6 weeks, and then I dump them into my larger group, which is when I do lives and other more general content. Just I summarized this entire thing in what, 30 seconds? Like,
you're great. You're one of the best in the space at what you're doing there. So I hope our listeners take this stuff and apply it. But before we go to closing thoughts or anything you want to, can I do a quick like rapid fire round with you? These are questions I've
Okay.
asked.
Okay, but this is questions he asks everyone. All right, I'm gonna do them too. Okay, just because I've been sitting here almost 3 hours and I'm getting a little punchy.
asked most guests kind of similar questions.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong answer. This is just one sentence, right? No more than kind of one sentence replies. Okay. First thing that
AKA don't go on long tangents. Just go through these fast.
comes to your mind. So the show is around shifts. And you've already given us some of the key shifts in your life and on your journey. I'm curious if you were to look back on your professional life, right? So that decade career in this channel, at all of it, what's one of the biggest shifts, a mind shift, a perspective shift? You went from thinking one way to thinking another that has helped you get to where you are today professionally.
Willingness to create videos. I think that was something that I started over 10 years ago. And because I feel comfortable doing long form videos, it meant when short form videos came around, I was comfortable doing those too. So I think she'll say video.
Well, one of the big shifts was, right in like about 2018, I had a feeling of I was made for more. I was, again, as I said, I was grinding it for years, and I just knew that my potential was so much bigger than what I was doing at that moment. So I did make a shift, and I had shifted to another company and made some massive impact.
She moved companies in 2018. Okay. We still don't know the original company or the current company. Okay. The company. It's like when someone's trying to tell you a story and not use names. It's like, can we just say like person A and person B or something? Can we just, yeah.
When I did that.
I mean, that's a powerful belief though, right? Is coming to the realization, and regardless of what track we're on right now, but like, I'm made for more.
Or that you can grind for 7 years on a multi-level marketing company, not be successful, jump ship and be successful at the next company. That's interesting.
For more. I love that. I think everybody that makes a change in their life, right? They come to the realization the path they're on, you're made for more. So I think that's powerful. Same question for your personal life. So let's put business aside,
Okay.
right? Ellen as a mom, right? As a wife, as a friend, like your personal life. Same question. Has there been any significant shift in your journey personally that has allowed you to become who you are today?
I learned that it's not any easier to be married than it is to be single, than it is to be divorced. Because in all situations, you're with yourself. Let's see what she says.
I know. I mean, that's a really good question because I feel like just literally getting into like
You can't think of anything that's shifted in your personal life. Like, oh, I decided that I was going to prioritize my health when I had a little health scare or something. Because it sounds like she was always working out, but it sounds like in these last few years, as her kids have gotten older, she's been taking time to take care of herself. So I'm surprised that she wouldn't mention something like that.
direct selling, this space is what totally changed my life. Literally from being a stay-at-home mom to saying yes to this opportunity was, I mean, and that's my life now. I mean, there's really nothing
Yeah, because she's working nights and weekends and she's like posting every single day. Yeah, it sounds like it's her whole life.
else that has been so massive besides like having kids. But you know,
Except for the kids. The network marketing company, but the kids too.
that's just like given, right? But
Well,
I would
yeah.
say, I mean, saying yes to this opportunity, I can't believe I was just saying
If you have kids, if you move, if you change industries or jobs, if you lose someone important in your life, like there's a lot of things that can happen in your life in adulthood that, could cause you to shift some
I
things
can't
around.
thinking I can't believe it's going to be 10 years here in a couple months. So that would be the biggest shift. And I know you said personal life, but that's it.
No, it's great. It affects that. It affects everything.
Yeah.
So one last. This is more like a visionary question, right? So
Okay, she's been in multi-level marketing for 10 years. She said in 2018 she moved companies. So 2018 was 7 years ago. So it sounds like she was with a company for 3 years grinding, shifted companies in 2018, but then she said she was grinding for 7 years total. So it sounds like she grinded for another 4 years. If it sounds like I'm being petty by constantly bringing up the timeline, it's because when people tell their story, I notice particular multi-level marketing people, they kind of play it fast and loose with things. And so when they do give a date or something, I'm like, "Oh," and I try to anchor their story in the date, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. So it sounds like she had to grind for 4 more years before she was successful. And because she said she grinded for 7 years, grounded. I don't know, whatever the past tense of that is.
I love that we get a chance through the DSN platform to get maybe reach right through these conversations. And I hope this conversation.
DSN also sounds like DSM, which isn't that manual that mental health professionals use to diagnose mental stuff? Is it the DSM guide or something?
Conversation just goes out to the whole industry. I mean, everybody can grab some nuggets from what you've given us today and can use it to accelerate their business. But
we have only gotten nuggets. We haven't gotten a full meal here. I'm still hungry.
Last stat I read was we're around, I don't know, 115 million people across the world that are coaches, distributors, consultants, right? Representatives of brands through this channel. And I often just wonder, like, what would happen if you had the power to like snap your fingers right now? And this is like Inception style. Immediately give every single one of those 115 million people across the world a single belief shift. If you had that power right now, what gift, right? What shift would you give everybody across the channel today?
Yeah. I tell them to get out of network marketing and they will be infinitely more successful if they actually try to start their own small, local, service-based business. If they don't have any money, the thing with service-based businesses is you don't have to pre-buy product, you don't have to have a storefront, that you go to people's homes or businesses and provide a service. So that's what I would tell every network marketing person if I could. And if you want to see the numbers, I have a video, which I will link in the show notes, where I go through several multi-level marketing companies' income disclosure statements. I do weighted averages to show what the average income is for everybody in the organization. And I compare it to small business ownership and numbers where we have like thousands of data points for. And to summarize that video, the multi-level marketing companies, it kind of ranged obviously from a few $100s to a few $1,000s a year. And the average small business owner here in the US makes around $45,000 a year. And again, in some places it's lower. And the lowest number I found was about $25,000 a year. But $25,000 a year is still a lot more than $4,000 a year. So if I could tell everyone in network marketing one thing, it would be that if you're passionate about an industry or you're passionate about owning your own business, get out of network marketing and use your talents to start your own business. You will be infinitely more financially successful and I think infinitely happier.
Yeah. Again, I think it's sort of that I'm made for more. And you have to believe in yourself. I have a really big goal for myself for this year. And just for example, like I say it out loud to my friend,
What's your goal?
my other friends in the business, like I am going to do this year.
Why don't you tell us, Ellen? What's your goal?
I am going to do that. I know I'm going to do that. So you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe you're capable of doing and achieving, what you want to achieve, then, nobody's going to do it for you.
If you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen? Oh, okay.
Starts with you. So you have to, again, like you are made for more. And you start by believing in yourself and believing that you can do that and speaking that to truth. So then it happens. I know that's kind of woo woo, like why.
Also, I think looking at yourself in the mirror and acting like something's true when it isn't, I think if you're an honest person, it can feel like a little icky, like you're lying to yourself. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. Instead of saying like, I make $1 million a year, instead I say, I have enough money to have fun and be generous with friends, family, and causes I care about. Maybe I have a shorter way of saying that, but having $1 million is one thing, but like, what do I want to do with it? And so I shift from like this lie to like, I want to be the kind of person that, and then, is generous with my money to myself and then to others and in worthy causes around me. I think that's feels a lot healthier for me than looking at the mirror and trying to lie to myself every day.
Wonky, maybe like manifestation, but there is, and I know, I mean, if you're doing any personal development, which I'm hopefully everybody is or has done, you have to manifest all.
What is the personal development you're suggesting? Can you suggest us some books? Can you suggest us some courses, some podcasts, some, rituals besides lying to yourself in the mirror every day?
All of those positive thoughts, because you have to believe it, so it will happen.
We've covered so much today. I love the start of your story and knowing no matter where we come from or the path we're on, we can make the shift and have success in the space. I love the dialogue on passion, finding and tying and connecting a passion either to the actual thing we're bringing to the world or the vehicle we're a part of. And I took some great notes on all the social media strategy. I mean, it's a basic framework that we can all apply that is generating huge results for you. And I know we'll do the same for anybody that takes this conversation and actually does the work. And, I love the transparency on you got to put in the time, right, to get to the lifestyle you're living. Is there anything left on your part?
You got to work harder. Because we've never heard that before, right? Sorry, I was just catching up on Slack messages while he was talking.
That you want to kind of close out with, or any other message you want to give to all the listeners out here before we round out today's conversation?
So lastly, I just have to hone in consistency. We know that that's what life is about, right? Like being consistent. I mean, there's so many areas in our life.
Be authentic and post consistent content. God.
Where we're not consistently doing, X, Y.
And here's the thing. Are any of us consistent about everything? I don't think so. I think you try to be consistent. You try to create ways that you can be consistent. So for example, I'm trying to get more steps in because I think that would be good for me cardiovascularly. I mean, I've been lifting weights and stuff, but I'm like, okay, I want to get like closer to 10,000 steps than I am. I'm currently at around like 3,000 a day. I'd like to get like closer to 8. So, okay, what can I do? Okay, every morning I can walk the dog. Okay, what do I do in the morning to make it so it's easier to walk the dog? I have my, you know, warm clothing ready to be put on right next to my bed. I make sure that I have dog poop bags in my jacket pocket. I make sure that the leash is hanging exactly where I expect it to be because I'm going to be like stumbling around in the dark. So, there are things that we can do to help ourselves be more consistent, but like sometimes you're just going to walk outside and it's going to be 0 degrees out and your dog's going to be like, no, fuck no, I'm not walking in this. She's going to pee real quick and you're going to turn around and go inside. Like, you can't always be consistent. You can try to set up your life so that you can be, and you can notice when you're not being consistent and see, maybe if there's something blocking you from being consistent, but that's like all we can do is try, right?
But with your business, again, if you want to be successful, you have to be consistent. And that's sort of one of the things that I feel like has led me to be where I am today.
I think to be successful at business too, you also have to know what you're aiming for. So I do this goal setting framework every year called Your Best Year Yet. It's literally 10 questions. If you don't want to buy the book, there's like, I'll link to a blog post that has all 10 questions in it. And what you do is you ask yourself question 1 and you set a timer for like 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. I usually do 15 minutes per question. And so it takes me a few hours to do this. It involves basically reviewing the last year, thinking about your upcoming year, thinking about your existing relationships, and then you set some goals. And so every year I've done this goal setting, and then I have to put the goals in some kind of format where I can consistently look at them. I usually put them in my bullet journal because the end goals, I take a lot of notes during the goal setting process and I scan those so I can refer to them later, but the actual goals themselves can kind of fit on one page. So I just put that like on one page of my bullet journal. Or I did this last year, I put it into Notion and I had different sections related to my goals. And so I like just try to consistently log in like once a month and see the progress I was doing. And you know what? I made progress on a lot of my goals. So she says be consistent, but I think part of what you need to do as a business owner is you need to like set some goals off. Like, oh, do you want, your product to be carried in 10 wholesale stores by the end of the year? Do you want to have a feature in a regional newspaper or magazine or similar within the first half of 2025? So you think through those things so that, as you keep them in mind, you can work toward them. So yeah, you're being consistent, but you're consistently working towards something you actually care about. So I would say consistency is one thing, but like knowing where you're going is also kind of helpful.
I've just been super consistent, and my, the corporate, people, that's what they would say about me is it's like, oh, she's just really consistent, and I've had years of massive growth. I've had years of smaller growth, and I know that I'm going to achieve a big number this year because I know I'm going to be consistent. That's it. Like, I know that it's going to happen. I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to keep being consistent. So be consistent. That is my last thing. As you always, I already said, you're made for more and you need to believe in yourself, but you need to be consistent.
I love it. Well, Ellen, thank you so much.
You can also be made for what you're doing now. I don't know, this whole made for more thing, it sounds like, oh, I'm in this shitty place and I'm going to like aspire to be in this much better place. You can also be happy where you're at now while also like having these goals of things that you want to happen. I don't know. The made for more thing is just a really awful framing, in my opinion.
So much for your time today, away from your team, away from your family. Congratulations on everything you are doing within your company, your brand, and really this community, and the lives you're making a real impact on, both at a consumer level and also obviously at an entrepreneur level. You're a light in the industry, and we appreciate you pouring into us today. And for all the listeners, let us know. The only reason we're all taking time out of all of our schedules is to add value. And today's conversation, I hope, brought a ton of value to you. I know if you...
He only does this to add value. He doesn't do this to make any kind of income or to sell coaching or anything like that. He's just doing this to be valuable. Let me be fully transparent here. Am I doing this video to add value? Absolutely. Am I also doing this video because it's fun and because it's going to make me approximately $10 in AdSense over the course of the next year? I am also doing it for that. And am I hopefully going to attract 1 or 2 marketing clients from this content when they see that I am not a marketing douchebag and they're like, yes, I want to work with Nicole? Yes. So yes, the goal is to provide value, but there's other goals too. He should acknowledge his.
You apply some of the things Ellen gave to all of us. It will accelerate your business today. But let us know, drop by all the places, where we're at. Listen to us on Apple, on Spotify. Thank you for all the shares. We're on YouTube. You can see Ellen's amazing energy, her gorgeous jacket today. We're better on YouTube. You can catch us there. But drop by.
Okay, so this is a podcast, so that explains the thumbnail in the corner there.
And ratings and reviews.
What I don't understand about podcasting people, and if you're a podcasting person watching this, tell me this. So Ellen doesn't have a microphone, right? And her audio quality, I'm guessing, is worse than me and Blake's audio quality as you're listening to this. If you had a podcast, right, and you were going to have someone on your podcast, to prepare them to be on your podcast, would you ask them if they had an external microphone that they could hook up? And if they didn't, would you offer them to send them one, maybe to record the interview so that you could hear their audio really well? And here's the thing is that, I mean, microphones now, I mean, I'm not saying like, I think the one in front of me right now, I think this thing is like $200, but there are cheaper options as well. Bluetooth mics that hook up to cell phones, they're like, what, $15 now or so? When I get a new client, I give them the mic setup and I put it in a little zip bag and I like leave it with them so that if they want to record content, they will be able to do that. And the mic I get has both an Android and an iPhone like jack so that they can, and I show them how to use it first. And I'm just like, hey, you have this on hand. And if it just sits on their desk, that's fine. It only cost me about $15 to give it to them. But at the same time, it shows that I care about the quality of their video recording. If like she didn't have some way to hook it up to her computer directly, there's ways around it. I guess I just don't understand if you have a podcast, why you wouldn't orient your guests so that they could have the highest quality product that they could.
Reviews are always appreciated. We read all of them and they help us get these conversations out to even more people. DSN is doing a phenomenal job making it simple to share. So we got new social channels up. You can find Direct Selling Shift on all the major platforms. This show, there's some great little clips that you're able to share with your community, and always directsellingshift.com. Check out there for full episodes, and you can nominate future guests, topics. Let us know what is resonating and what you need so we can best serve you. Ellen, thank you so much for your time and your energy today. It has been absolutely amazing. And I hope this conversation gets out to so many people because I know it will make an awesome impact. Thank you for giving us all the wisdom and insight today. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Blake. This was such a pleasure for having me.
Okay, I guess that was the end of it. And to close out today, I want to look at Blake, aka Direct Selling News, and I also want to look at Ellen a little bit more closely. So let's do that. Direct Selling News. Oh my God. First, there's the read section. I love when people act like their blog is like a magazine. It has basically, I think these are all the categories in the drop down. So it's kind of forcing me to pick a topic. Fine. It's not my favorite way to read a blog, but okay. So we have Listen and Watch. So we have the Shift podcast, Direct Approach podcast, Iconic Insights podcast, and the DSN podcast. So he has 3 more podcasts. Direct Selling University. Register for free. So it looks like there's something coming up spring 2025. Direct Selling University spring 2025 in Irving, Texas at the Convention Center. Achieve. I don't know how he can help us achieve here. The global 100 list. Okay, the top 100 global direct selling companies. I'm so curious. Why? Oh, it's a list that they created. Why did DSN start the global 100 list? The top 9 companies from 2023. So they haven't even updated this for 2024, which is almost over. Amway. And it looks like it's by revenue of some kind because 7.7 billion. So it's not like what's the best company for you as a distributor. It's like what's the best company in terms of money. So to see how the list is determined, the identification of companies to include in the DSN Global 100 list is the accumulation of months of research and the cooperation of many individuals throughout the world. Wherever possible, the DSN teams out public records and documents for publicly traded companies in excess of 100 million in annual revenue. Additionally, the team reaches out to the private companies that may qualify for the ranking. Research begins in December and continues through the publication of the Global 100 list. To fully reflect the global reach of direct selling each year, DSN has been able to extend the boundaries of research by working with private research partners, including China-based World Direct Selling Research Institute, to obtain information on international companies. So what data is compiled? That's what I don't understand. It's like we talk to the companies, okay, but why isn't value added tax, aka VAT, included in the revenue number? Okay. The ranking criteria is net sales revenue from direct selling operations before commissions and without value added tax. The VAT, from DSN's perspective, is certainly an integral part of the salesperson's life. However, it is not part of the corporate revenue we track. In short, it affects the people trying to sell the product, but the bottom line of the company is not affected because thoughts and tariffs. And they have a research tab. So the Digital Momentum Index, the top direct selling companies ranked monthly by performance in social media marketing. Ooh, I got to see this. The last time this was done was in 2022. So it hasn't been done in a couple of years. Direct Selling News is in partnership with Direct Selling Capital Advisors, presents the Direct Selling News Digital Momentum Rankings semi-annual list. Okay, so they don't promise it to be annual because it looks like they did 3 quarters in 2021, 1 quarter in 2022, no, 2 in 2022, and 4 consecutive months in 2021. So yeah, there's absolutely no pattern to this. I'm just trying to see. As we shift into longer term fan base growth and continue to watch community engagement on social media, some social media accounts have overtaken those with larger fan bases as their community engagement grows and strengthens. While follower fan count is still more heavily weighted, engagement with team members and customers on social media created a few rises and falls in the rankings in the first half of 2022. Regarding Facebook, the group averages for fan and engagement growth were 0.9% and 0.8% respectively, while Instagram fared far better at 4.8% follower growth and 0.9% engagement growth. Overall, on social media, the first half of 2020 about keeping existing fans and followers and focusing on engaging through meaningful posts and communications to broader audiences. So we still don't entirely know how they do these rankings. It's not like they're publishing their formula here, but here's their domestic rankings. Sensi is number 1, Saint is number 2, In Cruises and In Group number 3, New You Life number 4, Princess House number 5, Octavia number 6, doTERRA number 7, Trinaut number 8, Vita Divina number 9, and Truvi 10. I don't know what half of these businesses are. This is so interesting. And we don't know how it's being calculated, so it's really hard to tell what makes that a good or a not good metric. Okay, engage. There's a supporter program. Oh my God, hold on. Oh, there's a 404 page. Okay. I was like, are you really asking for people's donations? And then there's DSN. So we can subscribe, advertise, or connect. All right. I think we've seen enough of Direct Selling Network. So they have stuff to sell us. And it sounds like they have metrics that they are not keeping up. I just looked up Ellen Ludwig MLM because I'm like, okay, what MLM was she in? Right. And I'm just trying to understand. I'm not going to show you how much Googling it took to get here, but I had to look at what MLM was she in? And then I had to scroll for multiple posts. So it looks like she was in Bodi. Let me just read her giant caption. First of all, let me preface this by saying I wouldn't be where I am today without starting somewhere. And that was with Beachbody, now Bodi, 10 years ago in 2014. Okay, so I'm going to skip all this, her journey here. Over the past 5 years, I've been able to create an impact. Okay. So it was all well and good until she found the faster way, FAST, all in caps, ER way, faster program. So let me look that up. Okay. So I just Googled faster program. I had to add weight loss to it because I thought that's how they're going to say it. Faster way to weight loss. Become a coach. Learn more. Book your interview. Get your certification brochure. Okay, there's a coaching certification. All right, so I downloaded their PDF and I scrolled for a while, so I'll spare you that. And I just got to this faster way to weight loss, provides a generous commission package. So it looks like there is a sort of one-tier affiliate program. I just have to read this last paragraph. The Faster Way is designed as a one-tier affiliate program. As a coach, you may recruit influencers known as Faster Way brand ambassadors, and you may recruit offspring coaches to join your team. However, that is where tier ends and why we are not a multi-level marketing company. So why do you have offspring coaches then? If it's a one level, why the term offspring implies that there's a parent and then an offspring. It sounds like there's more than one level, but all right, I'm going to scroll some more. Okay, so there's a parent coach status and a premier coach status. Is there any fees associated to become a coach? There's an annual coaching fee of $99, which covers the ongoing support and resources provided by the certified coach community. And there's a one-time $100 enrollment fee. What is the cost of the fitness and nutrition certification? I have to go to this other thing to see how much it costs. So let me do that. Do fatless.com/certification. It costs $5,000 to be certified at the platinum level and $3,000 to get certified at the gold level. Holy shit. Hey guys, editing Nicole. I figured that she was in an MLM, which is why she was on an MLM podcast. So to find out that this was a company and then you have to pay for their specific training was surprising to me, especially how much it cost. And I thought, it might be most fair if I actually compare this to other fitness certifications. So I looked up two. I looked up NASM, NASM, which is the certification that my personal trainer has. And then I looked up CrossFit certifications. So it looks like that these vary based on the actual designation, but for certified personal trainer, it looks like the NASM certification ranges from an $849 self-study to some kind of pro bundle, which is like $3,295. It looks like there's some additional certifications for wellness coaching and sports nutrition and stuff, and those are in the sort of $600 to $3,000 range under NASM. And just to compare it to something else, I looked up CrossFit certification, and it looks like the basic CrossFit certification course is $1,150 for the course and the exam. And if you have to retake the exam, you have to pay $150 apparently. And then there's a level 2 certification. So that basic CrossFit is level 1. Level 2 certification also costs $1,150. And it's similar to level 1, but it provides, I guess, more in-depth understanding of the CrossFit methodology. So if you're going to pay a few hundred to a few $1,000s for a certification, I don't know why you would do that necessarily under a specific company. Maybe if I was going to get a certification, I'd try to get some nationally recognized certification that could get me, a personal trainer job in a certain gym or other kinds of positions that require a personal training certification. I'm just not sure how recognized this Faster Way certification is outside of this organization, because I've never heard of it before, but if you have or have any insight on this, please leave a comment on this video because I would love to know more. All right, back to it. We're going to Ellen's Instagram now. We see she was with Bodi, and then she moved to this other MLM, Faster Way Fitness and Nutrition, which we just looked at. And so this is her Instagram, and it looks like, according to her bio, she is with Faster Way Fitness and Nutrition Coach for Women. So I'm going to click on her link in bio. I got taken to this bossladybio.com/Ellen Ludwig. I'm going to go see what Boss Lady Bio is after this. This is quite the rabbit hole. So this is Ellen. She's very passionate about making women feel great. So when I hover over these programs, it says fasterwaycoach.com. And then there is a ellenludwigfitness.flowdesk.com to get the meal plan. So it looks like she has her own website as well, in addition to the Faster Way thing. She has an Amazon storefront and a couple affiliate links, one for Aloha bars, one for a supplement, one from Like to Know for her fashion. And it looks like everything kind of dumps into this flow desk thing for her own personal stuff. Am I getting enough fiber? Probably not. I went to that Boss Lady link thing, and it looks like it's just something like link in bio or Beacon's page. Let's see how much this costs. I'm just curious. So it looks like it can be $0 a month or it can be $12 a month. Here's the thing. If you have a website, you can make a simple page like that on whatever web software that you have. So you could just make a page, your domain / social, and you can make a page that is narrow and specific and mobile friendly that links to all your social media stuff. And you can put that in your Instagram and your TikTok bio. So I'm a little bit confused though, because she mentioned in her interview that there was a big shift for her in 2018 when she realized she had to change companies. But then in that reel we saw with the really long caption, it sounded like she was with Beachbody for 10 years and it started in 2014, which puts her at leaving in 2024. That would be 10 years later, right? Which is this year. But it seems like she's been with this new company for a little while, because when the guy was interviewing her, he kind of acknowledged that, she was with this new company and he admired the founder, which I think is the faster way person. And the company itself, Faster Way, does not see itself as an MLM. It sees itself as a single level affiliate. But it sounds like the Direct Selling Network thinks of them as an MLM because it had Ellen on the show to talk about kind of moving to this other company, right? In addition to some other things. What we didn't talk about was how to grow your audience to 100,000 on Instagram. Apparently, you post a lot of Reels content. And as somebody who posts Reels content that doesn't have 100,000 followers on Instagram, I will say if you post Reels content, it is more likely to be pushed out to non-followers than other types of content that you'll make. So that could help, I guess, more people see your message. And then obviously they would go to your profile and decide whether to follow you or not. But yeah, I don't think we can assume that by posting consistently and by posting great content that we are going to have 100,000 followers on Instagram. I hate to say it, but it's just true. So here I am on the internet killing dreams again. But here's the thing is I just don't believe in selling an unrealistic expectation. If you get to 100,000 followers, I think that that's great, but I think that most of us probably aren't going to get there, and that's okay. Most of our clients who do them have seen some great slow and steady growth in followers, but their engagement is way above the direct selling average of 0.9%. For some of our clients, we see engagement like 15% and something like that. So yeah, followers are great, but engagement is really important. And you know what? Before we go, I'm just going to look at her Social Blade stats. 1 second. As I mentioned, some of our clients who have, 800 or something followers on Instagram have like 25% engagement. So Ellen Ludwig has 247,000 follower, 82 followers on Instagram. Her engagement rate is 0.36%, which is pretty low. And if we look at sort of follower growth, like these numbers look, I guess, kind of normal. So like one day she got 44 followers, and another day she got 28 followers, and a different day she got 33 followers, and one day she lost 2. And it looks like on the average day she has gotten 88 followers. So about 2,000 in the last month. So yeah, like this looks relatively organic. It's not like, I think I've looked at some sample ones and it was like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. It was like, 3,000 people one day and then nothing for like 2 weeks and then plus 2,000 like another day or something. So that's what it looks like maybe when somebody's like buying followers or something. So it looks like in the average month she has a couple hundred followers, and then it looks like it jumped 15,000 in February of 2022. She talked about how she like really grew in 2022, and it looks like there's an additional 45,000 another month. But it looks like her growth has been relatively steady, another 15,000 in August of 2023, and then another 44,000 in July of 2024. But in that interview, she mentioned how she had some explosive growth in 2022. And it looks like it was in June mainly, and then also in February. I was going to scroll all the way to 2022. So I scrolled for a while and I thought, I got to be getting close. So then I clicked on one of the videos and it was posted mid-September of this year. So she posts a lot of content. So I would have to scroll for a really long time, I think, to even try to get to 2022. And what's annoying about Instagram is when you look at posts in the past, it tells you how many weeks ago it was. So you have to do all this like math to figure out, okay, when would be January of 2022? How many weeks ago would have that been? And then you would have to like scroll and just click on things until you got to it. And I love you guys, but I've been filming for almost 4 hours. In short, we can't promise anyone to get hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. Sometimes, as she said, the Instagram gods just bless you and you get a lot of followers. And there are certain things you can do, obviously, to increase your chances, right? You can post Reels content, which is more likely to be pushed to non-followers. So having new people discover you. You can use hashtags and location tags and other things that people might be looking at to help more people discover you. You can be using trending audio, which, you know, people are participating in these audio trends at any given time. And I've had definitely people follow me off when I post our trend to send ones. You can consistently find new accounts to follow, and a lot of them will follow you back. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. And you can interact with other people's content. The main way you're going to grow, though, is by connecting with other people who are on the same platform as you. So, for example, if you find a complementary business and you each do an Instagram takeover, and so you post to their Instagram account for a week and they post to your Instagram account for a week, suddenly you're in front of their audience, they're in front of your audience, and that's like a nice way to grow. Maybe you do a shared live stream together. Maybe you do some kind of, you know, giveaway of some kind of contest that includes some other businesses, and they promote it on their channels as well. And part of entering the contest is you following the different accounts. Be careful, by the way, with meta contests. There's a lot more rules than you think there are in regards to how to run a contest. They have pretty detailed rules. A lot of sort of contest apps that work with your Facebook or Instagram page automatically comply with those rules. So sometimes it's just easiest to use one of those if you're going to do something like that. But point being is that if you get in front of other people's audiences, that can be an inexpensive way for more people to see your content, and ideally you grow your profiles. And I would say that that is the, I guess, most creative and least expensive way for you to do that. Am I saying you're going to get 100,000 followers off of doing that? No. Am I saying your followers will increase if you continuously do the things I just mentioned? I'm saying that they will. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. If you have a topic, a person, something that you want me to talk about, you can leave it as a comment on this video. Or if you're more shy, you can use the contact form of our website, breakingeveninc.com/contact, and that gets sent to me privately. If you want to lightly keep in touch, a good way to do that is through our email newsletter, breakingeveninc.com/newsletter. We send it about once a month, and you can see examples of past newsletters on that page to see if it's your thing. And remember, the marketing gurus will just keep on coming, but the good news, you have a friend, that's me in the marketing business, who's not afraid to call them on all their bullshit and give you actual ways to grow your social media accounts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.